Years ago, dungeons began appearing throughout the world, igniting a fierce war between humanity and monsters. Initially, our protagonist was just an ordinary office worker, constantly subjected to his boss's harsh scoldings. Unexpectedly, he stumbled upon a unique monster farming game system, leveling up to become the one and only spell master awakened. Unlike ordinary mages, his skills have no casting delay, allowing him to move with the agility of an assassin, attack like a marksman, but with even more devastating damage. Boasting an attack damage of 7,749, 9 layers of defense tougher than any tank, and the best support constantly providing powerful buffs to his allies. He dominates his opponents, unstoppable and all-powerful. He is the spell master, Park Do-hyuk. The story begins at a bus stop in Seoul. Park Do-hyuk is waiting for the bus. While talking on his phone, suddenly, a violent tremor shakes the ground around Do-hyuk, causing everyone to panic. A gate materializes out of thin air. Grotesque goblins pour out of the gate, their faces contorted in rage as they chase after people. Everyone runs for their lives, shouting outbreak as they flee. Everyone hide. Do-hyuk stands frozen, completely stunned. His face pales as he hears the word outbreak. Outbreak, a phenomenon where gates, connected to other dimensions, open and unleash monsters into reality. Everyone present desperately tries to escape the goblins. While yelling run, he saw a little girl fall on the other side of the street. She was in so much pain that she couldn't get up, crying loudly. Do-hyuk ran to save her without hesitation. Little girl, don't cry. Take my hand. The moment he picked her up, right in front of him, goblins with ferocious faces approached. Do-hyuk closed his eyes in fear. It's too late. This is the end. Sounds of slashing and fighting echo. Do-hyuk kept his eyes tightly shut. He wondered, what's going on? It doesn't hurt? A gentle voice called out. Are you two all right? It's all right now. The voice belonged to someone who dealt with monsters emerging from the gate. We call them the Chosen Ones, the Awakened. The girl reassured him with a smile. We're here so you can relax. Scene change after they return safely. Yu-chan is being severely scolded by his boss. Yu-chan, I told you this was important, didn't I? But you couldn't even make it to the meeting. Why? If an outbreak occurs, you're supposed to escape and go straight to the rendezvous point. Yu-chan could only obediently agree. Yes, sir, you're right. His colleagues, overhearing the scolding, begin to gossip. What happened to Yu-chan? I heard there was an outbreak on the way to the trading point. An outbreak? The director slammed a file onto Yu-chan's face and yelled, This is the last time. I'm telling you. If you fail again, you're fired. Take the contract and report back tonight. After finishing work, Do-hyuk and his friend went out for a chat. He started complaining. Isn't the director being unreasonable? How am I supposed to know and avoid outflicks? His friend smiled. That's what they say. Doing well, but making one mistake can turn everything upside down. Do-hyuk frowned and sighed. I also want to be an awakened and make some money. His friend laughed. You're saying that again? Come on. Do-hyuk's eyes suddenly lit up. It would be nice though, especially, I admire the Awakened from the famous game, DGF. I'm confident about that. His friend said softly. Hey, stop talking nonsense. You think you can actually do that? Do-hyuk tried to avoid the topic. It seems like after getting scolded by the director, I started rambling. His friend quickly reminded him, Isn't that your bus? Hearing that, Do-hyuk rushed to catch his bus. Gotta run. See you tomorrow, his friend said with a smile. All right, this time you have to succeed. Take care. At 6 p.m., Do-hyuk stood in the parking lot, tiredly looking up at the sky and wondering how long he'd been out trying to close this deal. That director wouldn't let him off the hook twice. He had to succeed this time. Suddenly, an earthquake struck. Do-hyuk panicked. An earthquake? No, isn't this a bit much? Twice in one day? The Osprey gate continued to open. Someone from afar called out, Hey mister, get over here quick. Dacha finally reacted, running away from the goblins with all his might. But the goblins were incredibly fast. Quickly closing in on him, one of them snatched the briefcase containing Dacha's contract. Dacha quickly yanked it back, then punched the goblin in the face. That's like my lifeline. He knocked one down, but another jumped him. Unable to dodge, Dacha cried out in panic. Fortunately, the man from before came running to his aid. What are you doing? Hurry up. He pulled Dacha away, quickly slammed the door shut, trapping the goblins. Then he electrocuted them. He told Eugene and Wu Jin. This should hold them off for a while. The awakened will be here soon. Just as he said, within minutes, several cars arrived. They were the awakened. Seeing the scene, they exclaimed, "Whoa, there are so many. Even if there are a lot, they're just goblins. We'll make a good haul from this." Kim Chanjung, the leader of the group, said, "All right, you goblins, face us. Come on." They charged forward, quickly wiping out the goblins. Eugene watched in awe. The awakened are so cool. Amazing. He stood up, looked around, and wondered, "Where's my briefcase?" Someone reminded him, "Hey, we're still cleaning up, so don't come out here." Wu Jin Du-yun scratched his head and said, "I'm sorry. I have something urgent to do, so." Kim Jun-hyung asked him, "Are you looking for this?" Wu Jin Du-yun saw his bag in his hand and quickly said, "Yes, my bag." Kim Jun-hyung smiled righteously and said, "Don't mention it. It's natural for awakened people like us to help those weaker than us. And if it weren't for a body chosen to carry out justice, the power given couldn't be wielded." The others just smiled at his words. The leader's showing off again. Wonder how long the leader's speech will be this time? Suddenly, the person sitting next to him was dragged backwards. A blood-curdling scream echoed. Yuchan and Kim Jun-hyung were talking, and instinctively looked over at the sound. Before them stood a large, ferocious goblin. It roared loudly. Kim Jun-hyung urgently shouted, "Run!" Yuchan trembled. "I want to," but after hearing that scream, "My body is frozen in fear." Kim Jun-hyung yelled worriedly, "If you can move, run away now. Those who can move, help others." The other awakened people were confused by his actions. "Leader, blank." Kim Jun-hyung charged at the goblin as he spoke. "I'll buy you time to escape, but life isn't a fairy tale." In a flash, the goblin took him down. The others, seeing this, ran for their lives. "The leader's dead. Just like that. It's too strong for us. Run!" Only Wu Jin remained. Frozen in fear, he couldn't move. Terror seized Wu Jin. As the goblin approached, "I haven't accomplished anything worthwhile, and this is how I die? Meaninglessly? No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." Just as the goblin swung its attack, a robotic voice announced, "You have been awakened." The goblin struck, but Wu Jin, previously immobile, had vanished. He was now sitting behind it. Bewildered, he wondered how he got there. Just then, the same mechanical voice echoed again. "The awakened, Du-hyuk, can utilize the abilities and principles of the DGF to adapt to the system advantageously. We will transmit all the experience that can assist the awakened." Do-hyuk stammered, I don't understand what this is. Is this what being awakened is like?" There was no time for him to ponder, as the goblin continued its relentless attack. Outside, someone shouted, "Run away." The system's voice announced, "Danger detected. Initiating temporary body control override." Just as the goblin swung its club, Do-hyuk unleashed a magic missile. Those outside, witnessing this, were astonished. What was that? Isn't that person an ordinary person? They dodged the attack just now, so maybe they've awakened? What rank are they if they can wield that kind of power? How would I know that? Inside, Do-hyuk swiftly moved behind the goblin, attacking it with burning hands. The goblin evaded the attack and charged towards him. Do-hyuk blocked the attack with his shield. He noticed behind him, a sword swiftly flew towards him. Catching it, Do-hyuk channeled his power into the sword. Ultimate weapon. Then, he swiftly reduced the goblin to ashes. Everyone stared at him, dumbfounded, asking, "Who is that? Could it be another awakened? It can't be." The system's voice echoed once more, signaling the end of the tutorial. Do-hyuk, from now on, you are an awakened. 25 years ago, in the year 2000, obelisk towers appeared in capital cities across the globe. Out of nowhere, these obelisks were made of materials not found on this earth, and it's said that a transcendent being called the Tower exists within them. However, the Tower is now under strict government control worldwide. While rumors about the obelisk towers spread, a large-scale outbreak occurred across the world, and to stop it, various awakened were given a choice. 25 years have passed. It is now the year 2025. The world recognizes this as the Golden Age for the awakened. On March 27th at 6:12 p.m., you have awakened. Do-hyuk had been reborn as an awakened. Do-hyuk woke up after a long sleep. He looked at the tattered suit hung neatly to the side and quickly remembered. Looking at this, yesterday wasn't a dream. Yesterday, after defeating the goblin, the system voice rang out. Confirmation of hazardous element removal. Reinitializing body and skill control. He looked around in a daze, unable to understand what had happened. Why? Du-hyuk looked at the unidentified iron sword in his hand, furrowing his brow in confusion. Why am I holding this? I almost died to a goblin warrior. He recalled the goblin's appearance, his eyes darting around in fear. Is it still alive? No way. There's no way it could come back. Ji-hyuk saw the staff of the unidentified guardian warrior lying beside the low-grade space stone on the ground. He couldn't believe his eyes. Looking back at the sword in his hand, he wondered in a daze. Did I really awaken and defeat it? Just then, a voice called out, "Sir!" The other awakened, rushed over to talk to him. "We saw clearly the amazing magic you used to defeat that goblin." Ji-hyuk was confused by their attitude. What? What does that mean? The other awakened, continued speaking with an enthusiastic attitude. "You displayed skills that other mages can't compare to. And this humility too. Please speak freely, sir." Do-hyuk frowned and asked, "Hey, that's not it. Shouldn't we be dealing with the aftermath? There are people who died." They just smiled and said, "When called to an outbreak scene, these things usually happen, sir. Moreover, our leader is dead. If you saw it, will you come with us? If it's you, sir, I believe you can lead those with weak perception, like us." Do-hyuk frowned, thinking to himself, death is a usual thing. These people didn't care about their leader's death just now, and ran away. Is it common to come and say this now? Something strange, isn't it? Do-hee and Woo-jin linked arms and backed away from them. "Just give me some time to think." The others smiled and said, "Please come with us. We're counting on you." Just then, a female voice rang out, "Yes, please stop right there." Everyone reflexively looked towards the source of the sound. Chiron, along with her two bodyguards, slowly approached. She said, "From now on, please follow the instructions of our KPI." The awakened people said, "You're here already? No way you handled things that fast." 25 years ago, in response to the awakened appearing, around the world, for-profit guilds appeared, and an organization was established to protect national security, the people, and maintain social order for the awakened. That organization is the KPA, the Korean Awakened Person Agency. Leon, after a moment of silence, spoke softly. "This outbreak involves high-level monsters, so we arrived earlier than usual. You two awaken over there. Come here." The two were stunned, then suddenly realized. Ji-hyuk quickly ran away. "Sir, what should we do? We have to chase him." The bodyguard asked Lee Hyun-soo. "What should we do, sir?" Lee Hyun-soo smiled. "Do you even have to ask? Restrain them for me." Immediately, Lee Hyun-soo's bodyguards apprehended the two awakened. They watched Ji-hyuk running away and asked her, "Should we apprehend that person too?" Leon picked up Jui's bag and said, "No, you don't have to do that. Perhaps we'll meet again." Back in the present, her phone alarm was ringing. At 7 a.m., Jui recalled yesterday's events and held her head, wondering, what should I do now? If I say the contract was broken because of outflicks, will the director believe me? It's already happened. There's nothing I can do. Jui slapped her cheeks to wake herself up. Jui remembered yesterday's notice and thought. It clearly said, the game's abilities. He commanded, window needless to say. Instantly, a screen window appeared. This is his information. Ji-hyuk quickly scanned it. Good. Let's check. All stats, abilities, magic power, physical defense, magic defense. I think I've seen this somewhere before. He looked at the occupation box. It said sorcerer, machinist, alchemist. Then he suddenly realized, that's right, this job composition. It's from the game I used to play. This is the first character of DAF, and these three jobs are still the same as in DAF. Ji-hyuk thought excitedly. An awakened, with dual jobs, is already rare. I heard that all guilds are signing contracts, with large down payments, with dual awaken, right? He shouted joyfully. This is amazing. Immediately after, his neighbor's voice rang out. Keep it down. Do-hyun quickly apologized to them. He went into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, drank some water, and thought, I heard that many awakened people died early on. Awakened? So I need to increase my abilities to a certain extent. How can I increase my income without overdoing it? A way to make money without fighting. Then he suddenly remembered. That's right. There was definitely a max LV replication in the machinist's special incantation, right? Let's try checking it out. Do-hyun looked at the glass of water in his hand. First, let's experiment with this glass. Sacred and noble power. Replicate this. As soon as he uttered the words, a cubic cage appeared, quickly replicating the glass. Do-hyun stared in awe. This is actually real. The system announced, replication successful. Do-hyun held a glass of water in each hand and said cheerfully, perfectly replicate, both in appearance and weight. The target's judgment level will affect restoration. Failure rate increases significantly with mass. The higher the level, the lower the failure rate. Do-hyun smiled and said, this skill is even better than in games. The restoration test was successful. So next is a treasure. No. Let's try finding a relic. After the large-scale outbreak in 2000, antiques and old objects became imbued with spatial energy. Based on their energy capacity, relics are classified into different ranks. And from rank RE onwards, their value is astronomical, with a minimum price of 10 billion. In the event that an antique suddenly becomes a relic and is granted power or special options, life will change drastically. The owner will become wealthy. The problem is among countless objects on this earth. There are many cases of old objects becoming relics, but no one has awakened with the ability to appraise relics. Do-hyuk sat in the taxi, thinking and smiling. However, he frequently uses the identify spell for appraisal. The driver turned around and told him, we've arrived. Do-hyuk got out of the car. So, the place I need to go is the nearest antique shop. Let's try to find a relic. 3 hours later, Do-hyuk's hands trembled as he held a ring. There's something this crazy. He used his appraisal skill to examine the ring. This ring is called Ogang. 100% discrimination rate, rare rank. Option 1. Increase magic power by 100. Option 2. Increase intelligence by 10%. Option 3. Recover 1 magic point after casting any spell. Do-hyuk was thrilled after reading the options. What an amazing item. Besides the ring, I found many other things too. Should I head back now? He took the valuable items to the cashier. The owner said to him, you've been busy since early morning, huh? Do-hyuk smiled and replied, it's been a while since I had a day off, so I came here to look for antiques as a hobby. The owner nodded in understanding. After paying, Do-hyuk slowly walked out of the shop. Just then his phone rang. It was that grumpy old director. Do-hyuk sighed. Oh no, it doesn't matter anymore. He answered the call, and the director's voice boomed. Why aren't you at work yet? Do-hyuk calmly replied. Time flies, doesn't it? Besides, I thought you knew I wouldn't come to the office without considering the safety of the employees. The director roared in anger. What? What are you talking about? Don't you want to get paid any more? You think there are many places with good benefits and treatment, like our company? Do-hyuk finally snapped. He angrily retorted, good treatment? Where? Every day is a mountain of work. No days off. Even weekends are mandatory. Even a dog would laugh at this. All right. Consider this my resignation. He hung up the phone, strolling leisurely through the bustling crowd. Company business was done. Time to head home and sell some stuff. Coincidentally, a loud argument was erupting right where he stood. What the hell are you saying? Say that again. Let me tell you something. With that level of power, don't even think about pushing me around. It was just a bump. Why are you making such a fuss? You bumped into someone, you should apologize. It was just a graze. What's there to apologize for? The surrounding crowd began to take notice. What are they gossiping about? What's going on? Those awakened people across the street are fighting. Should we get out of here? Better to avoid trouble. Yeah, do it now. As the two were about to throw punches, talking to you is clearly getting us nowhere. Look who's talking. Pot calling the kettle black. Co Leon suddenly appeared between them. She pushed them back with both hands and said sternly, awakened fighting each other is against the rules. Carefully read the documents. Distributed to the awakened. I'll let this slide, but next time, you'll be imprisoned. The bystanders, witnessing this, couldn't stop praising her. Wow, so cool. She's beautiful. Who is she? I don't know. I heard she's Co Leon, rank B at KPI. She's even prettier in person. Co Leon looked towards the street. Quickly spotted Do-hyuk in the crowd. She shouted, you're holding a black bag. It looks heavy. Stand right there. Startled Do-hyuk thought, is she calling me? No way. Leon Soo continued calling, Mr. Do-hyuk. Do-hyuk smiled and replied, that's me. The men around him looked at him with envious eyes. Leon Su reminded him, please come and retrieve your lost item. Do-hyuk followed her, bewildered. Leon Su then led him to her workplace. She brought out 2 cups of coffee and said, we only have mixed coffee here. I am sorry. Do-hyuk responded shyly, no, it's okay. Did I lose something? Su took out his backpack that was found at the scene. Yes, it's the bag you left at the outbreak scene yesterday. Do-hyun quickly thanked her. Leon Sung smiled and said, sorry for looking through your bag to find the owner. Do-hyun brushed it off. It's fine. There was no other way. Then she got to the point. That's enough small talk. Let's get down to business. Yesterday, I heard people around there saying that the monster that appeared there couldn't be caught by the other 2 awakened. So I believe that you, Mr. Do-hyun, were the one who caught. The others corroborated that story. Do-hyun asked, so you're looking for me? Leon Sung smiled and continued. It's not about recruitment, but if you become a powerful awakened, you have to register as an awakened. So, I'll guide you through the test now. Do-hyun nodded in agreement. Okay. After the examination, the staff member reminded him, all right, the examination is finished. Please gather your belongings and go to the information desk you were at earlier. Do-hyun politely said, thank you for your hard work. Seola, seeing he was done, said, have a seat over there. She was holding Do-hyun's examination paper. Slightly anxious, Do-hyun asked, are the results out? Seola, focused on the paper, replied, just a moment. I'll explain. Do-hyun thought to himself, why am I so nervous? Seeing Seola frown, he worried. What's wrong? Did I not meet the standards, Seola? Seol replied, you're welcome. Well, look at this. You see where it says approved? You passed. Well, Mr. Ju-hyuk, I hope that your life as an awakened will be safe and sound. Please survive. Ju-hyuk frowned in confusion. Her last words left him feeling uneasy. Seol directed him to the exit in the back. After he left, the examiner from earlier approached Seol. Seol nodded. Yes, go ahead. He asked with a frown. Why? Were you so kind to someone with such low potential? Seol smiled intriguingly. Curiosity. Simple curiosity. Do-hyuk and Woo Jin left the Q branch office. As soon as they stepped out the door, outside, people were trying to recruit awakened. Our Black Leopard Society provides support and assistance to new society members. Please come this way. Holy Feet Society. We are gathering promising awakened individuals. Try consultation with us. Do-hyuk listened and thought to himself. Already, they're causing a commotion to recruit newly awakened individuals with abilities. It's a good thing I didn't care when I first started. Compared to rejecting a society's offer, it's better to not care. Because I just need to make money. Arriving home, Do-hee and Woo Jin focused on duplicating the Octao Bling Ring. Sacred and noble power. Duplicate this. Duplicate Elfei Mux. The system announced duplication failed. The current duplication target does not match the level. The success rate is 0%. Do-hee and Woo Jin frowned and said, with our current level, we can't duplicate relics of this grade. Then these 3 remaining items. The remaining items he took were Kim Ok-bun's 67-year-old kettle, discrimination rate 100%, grade no more. Discrimination rate 100%, grade no more. Option 1. When drinking tea from this kettle, magic power increases by 0.01 per 100 milliliters. Option 2. Has a self-sterilizing function. Bacteria absolutely cannot reproduce. Next is Ryder Doty's fountain pen. Discrimination rate 100%, grade no more. Option 1. Increases magic power by 20. Option 2. Increase intelligence by 20. Option 3. Decrease strength by 3. Finally, the white-haired General's Championship belt. Choi Jaeong-sung, 100% discrimination rate, magic level. Option 1. Increase strength by 50. Option 2. Increase the effectiveness of potions. Related to stamina recovery by 50%. Juhyuk put the ring on his finger and said, first, I'll wear the logging ring, the one I haven't been able to duplicate yet, and since I've registered as an awakened, after I check donate to see the price, I'll duplicate the other item and post it for sale. Donate auction. From 25 years ago until now, all over the world, many awakened have appeared, and donate is a trading space, a community for the awakened, where they can share various information, including all sorts of news, information, and trading opportunities. Relics can be traded through Donut's auction house. In a house somewhere in Nagoya, Japan, a young woman, also an awakened, stumbled upon the auction post for Du Hyun's pen. It's not uncommon for ordinary items to become relics, but the intelligence boost is quite significant. Raising intelligence stats is so difficult. I have to buy this. So many people are persistently bidding on this, but this is mine. This awakened Japanese woman finally won the fountain pen. At the same time, at the Bakery and Guild's headquarters, in Gangnam, Seoul, in the top floor office, Master, the vice chairman of Bakery, Min Sung-yoon was soaking in the bath and saying, Hyung, you know you're looking at the recent transaction list on the dungeon site, right? Outside the master bathroom of the Bakery and Guild, Korea's top guild. Kang In-hin, hearing this, asked, I know, but so what? Min Seonjian continued, even though one was auctioned for 7 billion. An awakened posted 2 artifacts at the same time, one rare, one normal. Kang In-hin raised an eyebrow. That wasn't a corporation? Min Seonjian replied, no, it's a new ID, with no recent sales history. And an awakened license only generates one ID. It's not a second account either. Kang In-hin asked directly, what are you getting at? Min Seonjian frowned and said, something smells fishy. Even after going around 30 dungeons, you wouldn't even see a trace of these artifacts. Kang In-hin was intrigued. You have the potential ability to obtain multiple SAO relics. Min Seong nodded and said, high-value relics appearing from dungeons are transferred to the black market in Gangnam and in Donate. There are also many tour-grade relics posted. But selling rare and NM-grade relics is not something any ordinary kid can do. Kang Jin-han nodded in agreement. That's true. Not everyone can obtain relics of that caliber. I understand. Then I'll contact the strategy, planning, and investigation team now. Who is that? Sung-yoon Min got up from the bath, put on a robe, and said, thank you. Scene changed to a park in the morning. Yu-chan and Woo-jin are doing push-ups as requested by the system. Challenge exercise, 50 push-ups. As he finished his 50th push-up, the system promptly announced the completion of the 50 push-up challenge. Target experience points achieved. Level up. Awakened Du Hyuk's level is now 11. Reach level 2. Du Hyuk, wiping away his sweat, said, I really didn't expect it to be like this. As expected, I enjoy trying out these kinds of games. The stats have been distributed as I desired. The mage's way of existence is gradually taking shape. Next, I'll acquire the focus and teleport spells. Du Hyuk excitedly thought, the reason I learned these 2 skills is to evade attacks from various monsters. There's no way monsters would just let a mage chant spells, right? But creating a skill, just by repetitive practice. Du Hyuk ran around the park, chanting, solidity and strength, empower. Incantation focus failed, empower spell cancel. Du Hyuk gritted his teeth. It's not going to work on the first try. I'll keep going until it does. Good. Again. Solidity and strength, empower. Same as before, incantation focus failed. Empower spell canceled. Du Hyuk frowned, wondering, it's been over 20 times. What's the problem? Kids playing soccer in the park. We're surprised. Whoa, he's still running. Isn't he tired? His friend reminded him. Hey, keep your eye on the ball. Quick, grab the ball before it disappears. Seeing the ball roll away, the boy hurriedly chased after it. Sorry, gotta run. The ball rolled across the street. Without looking, the boy ran straight into the street. Good thing it didn't roll too far. His friend yelled, watch out, look out for cars. Just then, Du Hyuk walked by. Seeing the boy run into the street, he immediately rushed over. Damn it, just as the boy was about to reach the ball, a truck came speeding around the corner. Du Hyuk jumped in front of the boy, chanting an incantation. Strength of fortitude. A tremendous crash followed. Seeing a bus about to hit the boy, who was reaching down to pick up the ball, he charged forward and stopped the bus with his bare hands. Then he turned and asked the boy, just now, oh wait, what? The boy was stunned, staring at him. Are you a superhero or something? Yu-chan and Woo-jin remained silent. The system's voice announced, skill movement spell usage created. Skill level 1. For 10 seconds, during any movement, no separate stopping posture is required. Mana consumption, satu. Skill spell concentration created. Skill level 1. If your stamina does not drop below 5% while concentrating a spell, you can concentrate the spell normally. However, when your stamina drops below 5%, the spell will fail. Consumed mana is not recovered. The boy replied, I'm okay. How about you, mister? Do-hyuk was so focused on the words on the screen that it took him a moment to reply, all right, I'm fine. Glad nothing happened. The boy giggled softly. The surrounding pedestrians exclaimed in panic. Look over there. An accident. What's that? What's that sound? Call 119, 119. As he stood up, the boy suddenly tugged on his sleeve. Wait, mister. Tell me your name. Wouldn't it be bad if I just suddenly revealed my name? What to do? How about this? My name is Do-hyun. Like you said, I'm working as a superhero. But you can't tell anyone about this, okay? It's our secret. The boy's eyes lit up. I promise I won't tell. Do-hyun and Woo-jin flew off. Be careful with cars next time. The pedestrian's eyes widened. What? Did they run away? It doesn't seem like that. There's no reason for them to run. Then turning to the boy, little boy, do you know who that was? The boy calmly said, I don't know. I didn't hear their names. Scene change. Do-hyun is now talking to a man in a suit, wearing sunglasses. The sample product has been confirmed, excluding the fee. The fountain pen is 1.8 billion won, and the belt is 450 million won. Please transfer 1.53 billion won. Please let us know when you've confirmed the deposit. Do-hyun looked at his phone and said, yes, just a moment. Then press send. It's sent. I'm someone who's never. My account balance is over 10 million won. Now I have an extra 1.5 billion won. His face lit up. Then he turned to the men in black suits. Yes, I've received the money. The men said, thank you for selling these two artifacts. We will transport them safely. Park Seo-hyuk said, then excuse me. As he walked away, he muttered, it's been a busy day. Should I buy some fried chicken on the way home? The next day, Woo-jin was waiting for the bus. The bus going to the street for the awakened is number what? Number 30. It should be here in about 15 minutes, right? Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Could this be an outbreak? Where did the gate open? A passerby pointed upward and shouted, above! It's open above! Do-hyuk looked up and saw a gate had opened above him. Then, tens of thousands of arrows rained down on him. The power to shatter the ground with arrows. This is no ordinary monster. He dodged with incredible skill and glanced to the side. It had an old face and goggles, contrasting with its short arms and legs. Suddenly, Min Seo-yin appeared, sword in hand. Hey, wait! She charged towards the monster. The monster shrieked, rallying those behind it, and unleashed a volley of arrows at Min Seo-yin. It seemed as if she was done for, but Do-hyuk's shield protected her. Surprised, she asked, what is this? Do-hyuk pointed at her. That was close. Min Seo-yin turned to look at Yoo-ji-hyuk and asked suspiciously, did that person set it up for me? Yoo-ji-hyuk yelled, making her turn back around. Don't get distracted. Look out. That number disciple is coming. She was still trying to resist when Yoo-ji-hyuk immediately intervened. Extreme precision magic control. The monster was struck by Yoo-ji-hyuk's power and met its end. It's dangerous, he told Min Seo-yin, so you better back off. Min Seo-yin stubbornly said, no way, I'm gonna awaken too. I have to fight. Then Yoo-ji-hyuk said, if you see that, you'll change your mind. She looked up and saw a huge monster wearing iron armor heading towards her. She was terrified. What in the world is that? Seeing her like that, Do-hyuk explained, that's a skill called high-level monster domination. If you're subdued by it, your body freezes up like yours is now. Min Seo-yin asked, why are you okay? Do-hyuk lifted her up. I've been through it once. Min Seo-yin pressed. What do you mean? He carried her and dashed to another spot with lightning speed, his expression unchanged. Then he set her down. Even though I blocked it with my shield, you must still be in shock from the arrow. Rest here. Blushing, Min Seo-yin replied, okay, thank you. Do-hyuk looked at the sword in Seo-yin's hand and said, let me borrow that sword for a moment. Min Seo-yin agreed and gave him a warning. Be careful with that bow and arrow. Their functionality isn't very good. He looked at the text on the screen. Morning Star Sword, no more grade. Option 1, increase strength by 10. After looking, he replied, this is fine. He then rushed out towards the monsters. 10 hammer orcs, 9 crossbow orcs, and 1 orc general. With equipment like that, the magic missile can't catch them all at once. For now, let's start with the underlings. He glanced down. That shield looks suspicious too. Magic conditioning. Extreme accuracy. Magic missile. His missile fired, killing 10 orcs instantly. He landed and laughed. Magic Missile's performance is better with Phil. He moved to deal with the remaining goblins in front of him. Object creation. Fools! Face the radiance. As he finished speaking, what Do-hyuk called Phil appeared. A massive monster advanced towards the goblins. The goblins shot arrows at the monster, but they were countered. Do-hyuk slowly approached Phil, showing the illusion from the effect of Wisdom Staff. Its effect is more powerful than other magic, isn't it? It's a good thing I brought the replication fountain pen artifact. Phil's aftermath isn't long, so let's take down the boss first. Do-hyuk charged towards the magic regulator. Extreme accuracy, magic missile. However, the goblin chief's shield withstood. He said, a shield with magic resistance? But there's another way, right? The principle of creation. By the power of discord, the ultimate weapon, he imbued his sword with magic, then lunged forward, thrusting his sword directly into the boss's shield. You've relied too much on your shield's abilities. The boss's face froze. Do-hyuk exclaimed in surprise. Inside, they're all right. Do-hyuk quickly stepped back. The chieftain seized the opportunity, swinging his hammer down, but he nimbly dodged the attack. Do-hyuk chanted, extreme precision magic control. Magic missile. The attack shattered a large chunk of the chieftain's armor, revealing the Nung's body inside. Do-hyuk thought to himself, the real body is inside that heavy armor? That's the great chieftain of the Nungs. A skilled mechanic. How did the shield get destroyed? So my spell is starting to take effect. But fear's effect will wear off soon. I need to finish this quickly. Do-hyuk charged forward, aiming directly for the leader's center, and unleashed a magic missile. The leader struggled to block with its shield. Do-hyuk seized the opportunity to dash behind it, attacking its back. With lightning-fast speed, he attacked from all sides, leaving it no time to defend. Do-hyuk smirked, thinking, if you thought I was just an ordinary level 4 awakened magic user, you were dead wrong. Let's end this with this move. He leaped high, aiming for the leader's core, to disrupt its magic regulation. Direct hit. Magic missile. After taking down the chieftain, Do-hyuk turned around to finish off the remaining Nungs. Are these the only ones left now? In the blink of an eye, he wiped out the rest of the Nungs. Not a single one remained. Do-hyuk walked over to a row of seats and sat down, his face serious as he pondered. It was fortunate that this time, only the chieftain had a magic-resistant shield, but there was no telling what the next battle would be like. I need to find the second-level incantation quickly. Just then, Lee Yunsul's voice called out, hello, Do-hyuk. Recognizing her voice, Do-hyuk turned to see Lee Yunsul. It's you? Lee Yunsul. He smiled back. Yes, we seem to run into each other a lot, don't we? But did Do-hyuk really handle this all by himself? Do-hyuk answered truthfully, ah yes. Leon asked again, then what about the other person, Kim Hannah? Do-hyuk immediately replied, she was injured at the start, so I took her somewhere else. And besides, I want to hear about Outspring's reward this time. When you awakened, intervened in the Outflick situation, and resolved this problem, there will be a reward for the spoils. Leon smiled after hearing that. You don't have to worry about that part. 19 soldiers, 1 leader. If you settle the bill in full, you can receive around 500 million. Do-hyuk stood up after hearing what he needed, wanting to leave, talking. Once the reward is given out, I'll be taking my leave. Lee Hyun-soo, looking bewildered, asked, hold on, Hyung, where are you going? Aren't you going to do the TV interview? Do-hyuk chuckled softly and said, I don't like the spotlight, so I'll leave it to you. Lee Hyun-soo didn't press further, nodding in agreement. Okay, then we'll handle the rest ourselves. You've worked hard, Do-hyuk SSI. Seeing that everything was settled, Do-hyuk turned to leave. Yes, you've worked hard too. And please return this sword to its owner. For me. As soon as he left, a reporter approached Lee Hyun-soo. Excuse me, miss. Wait a moment. The awakened who fought the monsters here. Do you know where he went? We'd like some information about him. Please tell us. Please tell us how that awakened fought. The scene changes to the hall of the China Dragonflower Association. The vice chairman of the Dragonflower Association enters the chairman's office. Chairman Go Gunny sees him enter and reminds him, Jinwoo, you should knock before entering my office. Jinwoo scratches his head and says, I apologize, Chairman. I'll come back in later. Go Gunny says, it's all right. What is it? Jinwoo's expression turns serious. There's been an outbreak near the Rookie District, but I heard there were no casualties, only injuries, including a hunter. Go gun, he says wearily. Jinwoo, stop beating around the bush and get to the point. You're wasting time. Jang Chanho skipped the minor details and got straight to the point. The D-rank rookie is said to have swiftly dealt with E-rank criminals, using swordsmanship and magic. But that rookie, during the encounter with the monster, seemed to only use incantations. Gu Gil asked, incantations? Not magic. Jang Chanho nodded and replied, yes, I mean, moving while making hand signs and chanting incantations. Didi muttered, I heard there was such a thing. Is that style among the awakens? Job categories? Yang Chanho answered, I've never seen it either, but the case of using incantations instead of regular skills in such a systematic way is a first. That person even used magic spells, like some kind of crowd control in the Beast Horde battle. Jai-Hai was surprised. Someone that talented is only an S-rank awakened before that person joins another guild. We need to hurry. Jai-Hai quietly asked Jinwoo. But Jinwoo, after hearing that, why did you come back here? Jinwoo was bewildered, not understanding the hidden meaning. Of course I had to report to Master. Jai-Hai got angry and raised her voice. So, you should have rushed to the scene immediately to find. You should have thought about recruiting that amazing person. Right from the start. Jinwoo was still clueless. Right from the start, Jai-Hai said exasperatedly. That's an ability both you and I witnessed for the first time, isn't it? It's called a rare item. Just how rare is it? Then we have to bring it to our guild, no matter what, right? Jang Taekwon flinched. I apologize. I'll leave right away, sir. Shoving him outside and yelling, You're wasting my time. Go now. Meanwhile, the Vice Guild Master of the White Lotus Guild, Min Seon-woo, was also listening to today's news. Up next, this time an outbreak occurred near Rookie Street. Among them, Ju Hyun-woo, a recently awakened, single-handedly dealt with the orcs and became a hot topic. According to the Awakens interview, Kim Hana was there too. At that moment, Kang In-in, Guild Master of Baekryun, Korea's #1 guild, called. Min Seondu was a bit surprised. Appa, what's up? Kang In-in asked her in a slightly sulky voice. Leaving all the work to your girlfriend and going out to enjoy the fresh air. Must be nice, huh? Min Seondu immediately retorted. You told me to handle all external affairs before. Compared to that, how much is the down payment? Kang In-in shifted his attention to her question. Let's try 3 billion for the down payment. Min Seondu was eager to recruit that special awakened. Is that all? Add a little more. Kang In-in was silent for a few moments, then said, 10 billion. But they have to pass the guild's test. Min Seondu smiled. Is that absolutely necessary? We'll see about that. I handled it personally, so I'll definitely bring him back. Kang In-in said sternly. Don't harass someone's son. Do it properly. In front of Yu Jae-hyuk's house, a large crowd had gathered, reading the paper he'd posted on the door. 100 billion won? Anything less than this, I'll have to refuse. If you wish to discuss further, please come back later. They read and chattered amongst themselves. 100 billion won? That's amazing. That's insane. I heard he's not planning on signing. Is he crazy? At that moment, Min Seonju arrived at Yu Jae-hyuk's residence. The others were surprised to see her. Just how good are his abilities? That's the Vice Guild Master of Baekryun Guild, the top-ranked guild in South Korea. Even Min Seongju came to recruit someone. Kim Hyun, the Vice Guild Master of Maekal Guild, said sarcastically. Why are there so many flies buzzing around here? The others have given up and gone back. Anyway, it seems like he has no intention of joining any guild. Or, has he already talked to Baekryun Guild? Min Seongju noticed Kim Hyun's remark. She retorted without hesitation. Your guild can barely maintain itself. Yet you have the audacity to show up here? After saying that, Min Seongju also noticed the paper on the door. After reading it, she was filled with questions. 100 billion? Min Seongju turned to Kim Hyun and asked, what do you think about this amount? Hyun stammered. Kim Hyun said angrily, don't call my name, it's disgusting. And with just a single order like this, what guild in the world would invest in it? F-rank awakened. 100 billion won? Jin Seonda frowned and said, it's not just any request. It's a rare one. Have you ever seen an awakened use an incantation? Kim Hun grumbled as he walked away. No, but this is an insane amount of money. That guy will never be able to receive this kind of money. Min Seonda just smiled and said loudly, let's see. Mr. Dohee UK, He probably wants to find a place where his worth is recognized. Mr. Dohee UK, we'll be going back today. But next time, we will meet again under more satisfying conditions. Then she drove off. Dohee UK was inside the house, overhearing their conversation. They're finally gone. This feels strange, having so many people try to recruit me. But right now, I have no reason to join a guild. It's all about the money. There are too many instances where sacrifices must be made for the guild, and freedom will be restricted. What I need right now is strength and growth. YUK looked down at the two small maps he had marked. Based on the test results from earlier, he said, my abilities can be enhanced further. Let's just stick to the plan, shall we? 5 days later, YUK arrived at a base near a magnetic field zone, where monsters were likely to appear. He looked at its fortifications. Finally, it's here. These artifacts were found all over the world in 5 days. Over the past 5 days, YUK had collected 10 number-grade stone pebble bracelets, a magic-grade wish beads for perfect college entrance exam score, a normal-grade IU Hana bracelet, and a normal-grade Jejina bracelet, the longevity binoculars, a magic-grade staff, and Kim Ong-Wong's magic-grade belt. Do-hyuk looks down at his own gear. The latest defensive jacket prepared on Rookie Street, and this 500 million won armored vehicle I invested in. My stats have increased dramatically compared to 5 days ago. This should be enough preparation. The examiner outside announces, sir, your identity verification is complete. You may enter now. Do-hyuk watches the door slowly open and smiles confidently. Let's give it a try. In Daejeon and the surrounding metropolitan area, and several other major South Korean cities, 25 Awaken have emerged. During that time, numerous dungeons have appeared across the country. However, most dungeons belong to guilds, and the map shows dots representing guilds and their territories. Using those areas requires a ton of paperwork and procedures. For a lone wolf like me, that's a huge hassle. Besides, unlike Daneon, the magnetic field there is different. It's teeming with terrifying monsters with long snouts, long limbs, and sharp spears. After the monsters in Danjian emerged through the gate, a dimensional rift, a term emerged, ecosystem creation zone. It's a place enclosed by a massive 10-meter-high wall, where monsters breed and thrive. Hunting them there provides ample experience points and dimensional stones. It's primarily a hunting ground for solo awakened ones, without guild affiliations. In these monster habitats, there are walls several times taller than a person. Lush, green bushes provide cool shade. Monsters lurk, their eyes fixed on the delicious piece of meat on the ground. Their hunger is overwhelming. They can't help but drool. 3 monsters eye the meat as if it's beckoning them. Eat up, you monsters! He holds up the meat, and they devour it greedily. From his perch in the tree, Hyuk looks down. He watches as his bait is torn apart and consumed. Magic conditioning, extreme adjustment, magic missile. The 3 monsters, now full and bloated, are suddenly attacked by Hyuk. They collapse on the ground. My stats are increasing rapidly. Guess I don't need to hunt silently anymore. He looks at the monsters lying defeated below. And this is the first time I've seen such primitive things. But I'm not as fazed as I thought I'd be. Unlike before his awakening, he's finding it easier to adjust to this new reality, including all the experience gained. After awakening, the awakened system, sounds like these are pretty great, huh? As Woo-suk is lost in thought, the box he's wearing on his hip suddenly moves. He opens it. Inside are pieces of meat he prepared. When the monster returned, they exchange a cunning look. Then 2 or 3 ferocious white wolves approach. The monster and the white wolves stare at him with hungry eyes. Woo-suk notices the white wolves behind him. He thinks, should I try taking them all on at once? Next, at the monster carcass market, the vendor is sweating as he counts each monster. On the table, 47, 48, 49, 50. The vendor strokes the fur of a monster. It's been a while since I've seen monster corpses this well preserved. After other monsters die, their bodies, well, it's not like this. We're always grateful you sell us such high quality goods, such pristine specimens, even in death. Hey, I don't care about all the sweet talk and flattery. Just tell me what's the price. The vendor pulls out a calculator. Let's see, for this lot, around 300 million won. Hearing the number 300 million, The crowd erupts in chaos. Whoa, 300 million. First time seeing someone earn 300 million in one go. I've been a player for 5 years, and this is a first for me too. The vendor quickly ducks behind the counter. We'll process your payment right away, Mr. Park Doo-hyuk. And there's one more package for you. We apologize, but it might be dangerous, so we had to inspect it. Inside the package. Don't mention it. Yes, thank you for holding it for me. The deliver man said the package was a book. The seller was just being polite. We're very grateful. For someone as capable as you to come to us, it was nothing, just luck. All eyes are suddenly on him. Sharp as daggers. He wants to keep a low profile to avoid envy and resentment. But his actions have caught the attention of an underling. Look at that kid. Look over there. I heard that kid's bounty is 300 million won. We've been hunting monsters for days and only got 3 million won. After expenses, it's barely enough for ramen. That's too bad. That staff member wasn't very friendly to us. The three of them, with their blonde, blue, and red hair, are all jealous of that kid. That brat. He probably thinks he can change his life with a little magic. Otherwise, there's no reason for him to be so arrogant and cocky. The blue-haired man speaks ominously, as if plotting something against the newcomer. The other two, with red and blonde hair, look down in surprise. The blue-haired man radiates a murderous aura. If he earned that much money today, then wouldn't he have shown up in the magnetic field zone before? We've been coming here for 2 years, and today's the first time we've seen him. He must be new. With that kind of power, the monster's corpse in the truck will be just the right size. If we attack him from behind by surprise, he's finished. Let's get this guy out of this magnetic field for good. And whatever happens in this area, he's already signed a waiver. The next day, Hui continued his monster hunting. He loaded each monster onto his truck. Cleaning up the bodies seems more tiring, huh? In the bushes, 3 men hid, waiting to ambush him. I'm going now. Back me up? Okay, got it. A rustling sound came from the bushes. He reacted quickly and turned around to find the blonde-haired man preparing to sneak attack him. But he didn't expect that he was a very skilled fighter and dodged all his attacks. He's like a ghost. To put it simply, it'll be like this. Good. You did it. Nice moves. One last hit. The blonde guy raises his sword, ready to strike him down, but he blocks it with a club. With this level of skill, you dare challenge me? Hyuk punches him square in the face. Responding to someone intending to kill is called self-defense. Burning fist. Hyuk lands a powerful punch to his face, knocking him out cold. The other two, with blue and red hair, are shocked and terrified by the scene. The blonde guy, attacked by Hyuk, lies motionless on the ground. His 2 companions refuse to let him go and attack him from behind again. Hyuk turns around and sees them. Moments later, from the bushes, 2 figures emerge. They see him turn and look back with a murderous glare. They're terrified. The blue-haired one is petrified, like he's seen a ghost. His attack failed. The red-haired one turns to him, confused and panicked. Why couldn't you throw them in? But Tang Yang, you clearly threw them. And that kid, he's not a newbie like us. We need to run. The blue-haired one sprints away, leaving the red-haired one behind, yelling, Li Yang. He looks back and sees them. They scramble to control their chaotic magic and connection skills. Everything is a mess. How dare they touch me? Precision magic control. Gang Young was hit. He collapses to the ground. Kong Young's face is completely pale. Gang Young's magic missile. He's still holding his sword and shield, radiating a murderous aura. He can't be attacked like this. No matter how unexpectedly powerful his abilities are, he can't keep using such powerful magic. He can't do it continuously. I'll block it once with this shield and finish him off. Seeing him prepare to attack, Hui UK uses Death in 1,000 colors. Myriad hues colors pay. Color space, trying to obstruct his vision. Saw color sprite is a spell, aimed at hindering sight, and has the added effect of exposing internal organs. But thanks to his high intelligence, I can expand the range and power of the spell and generate inner strength beyond mere oscillating energy waves. Kanyang was hit by color spray and his vision is affected. His eyes are bloodshot. He's bleeding and collapsing to the ground. I clearly didn't feel attacked. But what's wrong with me? As I stepped in front of him, this is wrong. You're not some newbie. He raised his sword and slashed at him. Because you dared to aim for my life. You'll pay the price for it. One left. Kanyang died under his sword. As for Gang Yun, He continued his attempt to escape, but was discovered. He jumped, startled to find him standing behind. Please let me go. I'll never show my face in front of you again. Please. I'm not a saint. I can't just spare someone who tried to kill me. Magic missile. A magic missile flies straight towards him, causing him excruciating pain. He collapses to the ground. Just then, someone approaches with a sword, furious and unable to contain their anger. A spell is cast. Well, that was unpleasant. Footsteps approach. Hayek turns around. What in the world? They both look at the body and then at Hayek. Can you explain what happened? Yes, of course. Hayek recounts the events to the bodyguards. We understand the situation. We even have video evidence. It's considered self-defense under special law. But first, please cooperate with us. Yes, I understand. All right, let's gather 10 bodies and move out. Everyone move out. We suffered quite a lot of damage because of those guys, huh? Hayupal, I spotted something over there. Do you guys feel that magical energy? What is that? There's magical energy radiating from over there. A pair of blue eyes appeared in the bushes. It's probably just your heightened senses from the recent battle. I'll go check it out for you. Hyuk seems to sense danger and warns the bodyguard. You need to run away right now. What is it that's up ahead? Where did it come from? A giant white wolf appears right in front of the bodyguard who growls. A gigantic white wolf bursts from the bushes, growling like a ravenous beast. This is clearly the alpha of the magnetic field wolves. I hunted some at the levee in F, remember? The white wolf snarls at the bodyguard, drooling as if ready to devour the small bodyguard whole. Hyuk quickly uses his shield to block the incoming attack. Bodyguard quickly move to the side. Fireworks erupt from Burning Han's fingertips. A blinding golden ray strikes the white wolf. The attack creates a deafening explosion, forcing the white wolf to stumble backward. It continues to growl menacingly. I can't attack with it right in front of me. Was that last howl a call to the rest of the pack? From within the forest, a pack of wolves rushes out at incredible speed. The guards are just standing there, completely stunned by what's happening. Where did they even come from? This magnetic field zone is wolf territory. This is bad. Really bad. Mominslate. Listen up. The wolves are going to attack. Get in the car I brought, and let's get out of here. It's been modified. It's strong enough to get us out of here. What are you talking about? You almost died just now. What are you thinking? You're unarmed. How can you say that? Senior, I'm angry, but we don't have a choice. It's better to escape and call for help. I know. The white wolf just howled. It's calling its pack. A pack of gray wolves surrounded the guards. I'll hold them off. The rest of you, prepare to escape. A wolf lunged at one of the guards, but the guard punched it in the jaw and sent it flying. The wolves swarmed the guard, pouncing on him and snarling. Magic missile. He blasted the wolves, attacking the guard. The guards in the vehicle shouted urgently. Senior, are you ready? Yes, I know. Let's go. I'll bring the other awaken here right away. Seeing the guards leave, he smiled, satisfied. Good. The obstacles are gone. Now no one will notice. Before he could finish, a white wolf lunged at him to escape the magic missile. The white wolf smashes the boulder, following up with a claw strike after jumping. Next, a tail swipe. It's attacking exactly like in D and F. If this is dodged, the rest of the pack will attack. The gray wolves in the pack are just looking for an opening to strike. After a loud crash, a gentle landing, followed by bolts of lightning. They strike the white wolf, causing it to howl in pain. Lightning flashes through the trees. The white wolf continues its assault. The sky is now pitch black. The gray wolves grow more aggressive. The white wolf refuses to back down, continuing to fight. Just like in D and F, they're unable to move. About the delay skill, let's end it with this. Burning hands, the fingertip firework display, and magic missile. Blazing flames engulf the snarling giant white wolf. After an earth-shattering battle, the white wolf is finally taken down. After the main force arrives and confirms the death of the alpha, I investigated that group of 3. Thanks to the black box footage from the vehicle, I was able to quickly confirm my suspicions about them. These 3 guys, they weren't just opportunistic thieves, awakened to steal artifacts. They were clearly prepared. It's too dangerous if it's just those 3. There must be someone else with them. At the current level, a mini drone should be enough. Inside the magnetic field, UK sits on the roof of a car. A level 5 machinist. He examines some valuable materials. I could do this back at the shelter, but I want to try it out now, so I have to do it here. The materials I bought at the market have arrived. I wonder if it'll work as well as when duplicating items. He summons a sphere of compressed space stone. With this, I should be able to make a good drone. Crafting mini drone. Machinist crafting process. I've only ever seen this in games. Crafting mini drone, 10%. Crafting mini drone, 25%. Can I really enjoy that? Crafting mini drone, 50%, right? But I can't forget about this. It's Peace Land 1, 100% discrimination rate, magic level. Option 1, increase magic power by 20. Enchant, can use magic missile level. Ombian Land 1 for the mini drone. Crafting mini drone. Mini drone is 75% complete. Mini drone complete. A series of notifications ring out from the orb. This is it. He continues to work on the drone, perched atop the vehicle. The mini drone on the computer screen now displays a flood of information about Du Yuk and his thrilling attacks. Inside a building, accusations fly. No way. What is this? Didi leans over Erkuliage's shoulder. What's going on? I found a video. Take a look. What in the world? Oh my, isn't that Du Yuk? It is, right? I thought this was just one of Du Yuk's usual hunting videos, but the scene on the computer screen was too brutal and harsh. It left Didi frozen at the conference table. Chairman, no matter what, this time I must personally recruit him. Master, you'll go yourself, sir? Don't you feel anything after watching this video? A rank E, yet overwhelmingly powerful. Yes, a rank E. And now we can get the leader into our top 3. Even so, for a rank E rookie, 100 billion won isn't too much. Sir, when you were rank E, did you ever catch a monster like that? No, sir. That's impossible. Didi impatiently yelled at Jiangxi. But, Dayak, he's already this strong at rank F. What if he grows a little stronger? He could be many times stronger. You saw the video. By then, even 100 billion won won't be enough. Hurry. We're running out of time. We need to warp immediately. Didi pulls Wes' cloak, urging him along. Move quickly. At this rate, we'll run out of time. The Big Picture Guild, rank 54, waiting for their colleague to finish. Hurry, if we can recruit that person, we can also aim for the top-tier guilds. The Black Comic Guild, rank 101. Our guild absolutely must recruit him. The Freedom Guild, rank 70. He steps out of the building, sees the 700 million won balance in his account, and is a little surprised. But he still sighs. By now, nothing should surprise me, right? Suddenly, my phone rings. The caller ID shows Yang Changhua. I think to myself, it's the Vice Guild Master of the Flower Guild, the one who tried to recruit me. He gave me his business card, so I must have saved his number. I answer the phone and say calmly, "Hello, this is Yu Hiwu." Instead of a man's voice, a woman's voice answers. She says, "Mr. Yu Hiwu, you finally answered. I'm the Guild Master of the Flower Guild, Gigi." Completely surprised, I ask, "Excuse me, what? This isn't Mr. Yang Changhua's number." "How?" She replies cheerfully, "Changhua is driving right now. I wanted to talk to you in person." "Where are you right now?" Hearing that, he flatly refused in a cold tone. "I'm currently busy in a magnetic field. So unless it's urgent, hang up." Hearing that, she anxiously said, "Wait, Do-hyuk. If you're busy, then there's no other way. I'll get straight to the point. I want to invite you to join our guild. The 100 billion you posted on the door before. If your abilities are truly as you displayed in the YouTube video, then the Warai Guild can fully invest in you." Hearing that, Yang Chanho hesitantly spoke up to dissuade him. "Master, no matter what, that amount of money." He started to speak, but she angrily interrupted him. "Be quiet and focus on driving." Just then, Do-hyuk's voice came from the phone again. When he spoke up, Ms. Gu's tone completely changed. She replied with a submissive, "Yes." "What do you think of that?" he asked. "It's quite a groundbreaking condition, isn't it?" But he completely ignored her question and asked something else entirely. "More importantly, what did you mean earlier about the YouTube video?" She answered honestly, "Yes, there's a video posted by someone named Seo Hiji. Don't you know about it?" He responded truthfully, "This is the first time I'm hearing about it. I need to hang up to get a grasp of the situation." Seeing he wasn't going to agree to her proposal, she panicked. "Wait, don't hang up," she called out several times, but he ignored her and hung up without a second thought. Seeing her 7 consecutive failures, Jang Chanho kindly advised, "I don't think they're meant to be together. You should give up, master." But he didn't expect that after giving his advice, she would angrily shout, "What the hell are you talking about? You. Seeing her about to lash out, he quickly warned, Master, watch out, look out. Meanwhile, after browsing online, he finally found the video. Surprised, he wondered, there really is a video? A video of him confronting those three guys? Who is this guy? For some reason, he couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. He slammed his hand against the car. He thought to himself, maybe it was uploaded because of the number of subscribers and views. The video of me hunting monsters was posted second, but that random video could cause a misunderstanding that I'm a murderer. Since my spellcasting ability has been revealed anyway, I'll use this. I told myself I didn't intend to join a guild, but there's no other way. High-level spells, or crafting, can only be obtained from dungeons, and the guild manager said that. Dungeons are managed by guilds. So, I wrote and sent a message. The message said that I am Do Hyuk. This is the message I sent to everyone who tried to recruit me. The recently uploaded video wasn't posted by me, and my abilities are no longer worth 100 billion. To prove that, tonight I'll show everyone at the Gangnam Market. If you're curious, come see for yourselves. Meanwhile, in a Seoul skyscraper, a man stares intently ahead. Frankly, Do-hee, how many times have I told you not to dress like that? To dress more modestly? This man is none other than Chairman Lee Hoon-ho of the Seoul Corporation. Standing before him is Baek Do-hee, a guild master, who's dressed in rather short attire. It's a bit revealing, but practical for combat. She sighs and replies, Father, honestly, if I didn't dress like this, it would be really inconvenient to move around in dungeons, right? He opens his iPad and shows her the company's new designs. Well then, he asks, what do you think of the windbreaker that the guild made? With so much exposed, how do you plan to defend yourself? She looked at the coat and sighed. That jacket, compared to what Seiko's wearing, offers less protection. Her father, feeling a bit stung by his daughter's critique, asked, what do you mean? Ignoring his question, she continued, besides, Dad, I'm planning on checking things out myself this time. Surprised, he asked, you're actually interested this time? She answered with a firm, yes. After seeing Dusuk's video, she was certain. He asked, surprised, but before the green test showed, he was just an ordinary person in a magic world, right? Instead of answering, she posed a different question. Dad, do you know why there's a saying that people in the magic world have reduced functionality? It's because constantly testing skills and developing a wide range of skills is really difficult. But while watching this video on Yuhi Australia's YouTube channel, I realized that he's definitely not an ordinary awakened person in the magic world. Seeing his daughter's firm determination, he asked, is he worth it? Is he worth investing such a large sum of money? Hearing his question, she confidently replied, although I'm not entirely sure. My intuition has never been wrong. She then gave a bright, cheerful smile. Her father, seeing her smile like that, was a bit surprised. He thought, it's been a while since I've seen her smile like that. Though he sees her as just a naive newbie trying to force his hand, it's been a while since he's seen that smile. So, he'll agree. He says, all right, you came to me for funding, didn't you? How much do you need? 10 billion. She spoke up after hearing him. 200 billion. I need a little extra. He was stunned after hearing her outrageous price. But he simply replied calmly, I understand. I'll prepare it. But don't waste it. Seeing him agree so easily, she rushed over and hugged him, showering him with flattery. Thanks, Dad. Love you. Scene change. 0 o'clock at Gangnam D Market. An MC announced, hello everyone. I am Leon So, former supervisor of this event. Today, we will be holding a new type of auction, not a relic auction. Although I know the attendees are already aware, allow me to introduce it. The person causing a stir in the community. Now, the awakened spellcaster, Ju Hyuk, appears before everyone and cheerfully takes the microphone, saying, it's a pleasure to meet everyone. I am Ju Hyuk, as you all saw in the video. Unlike other awakened individuals, unique in the world of magic, my skills have no delay. Suddenly, as he's saying this, someone in the audience interrupts. Don't lie, you little punk. We've never seen a mage without skill delay. If you're trying to lure people here with that nonsense, I'll teach you a lesson. You obviously edited the video. At this moment, he stood there. He softly chanted Amber Shield. Immediately, a shield materialized, protecting him. The spell notification appeared. Shield materialized. It appeared so quickly that it stunned the other guy. The onlookers exclaimed, Wow, that was fast. There seemed to be no delay at all. The guy above, brimming with confidence, challenged. The speed is undeniable, right? Is he satisfied now? The other guy's face contorted in annoyance at the question. Some people below asked, a skill like a shield is too simple, isn't it? Isn't that right? If it were an offensive skill, it probably wouldn't be that fast, right? Hearing this, he replied, I knew you'd say that, so I came prepared. A pillar suddenly appeared in the distance. He looked at it and said, I'll show you all the other spells on this support dummy. Suddenly, a hand raises from below. Excuse me, it's Big Dohi. She offers, if you don't mind, I'd like to help with the demonstration. Surprised, he asks, demonstration? Yes, she replies honestly. That's a tanker trained by the Soul Guild. Compared to that dummy, I think I can be of more help. What do you think? As she finishes, a tanker stands up behind her. Skills and spells. For awakened, magic users require role-playing to use. But in the case of basic magic, role-playing is a waste of time and can't move while chanting. So they're vulnerable to monster attacks and need protection from a tanker. But your case is different. While chanting, you can activate spells instantly, and you don't need a separate casting time. So you can move and chant at the same time. Compared to normal skills, the power isn't inferior, but even stronger. This is your special ability. She stepped forward, and the crowd below murmured, it's Ma Sangmi, if you're going with Danny Eon. Haven't you already paid the price? At that moment, Tanker Ma Sangmi stepped forward and greeted him. It's a pleasure to work with you. Seeing her step forward, he felt a bit worried, and asked caringly, really? Will it be all right? She heard that and answered resolutely, yes, you don't have to worry. Don't worry. You're better than that dummy over there, right? And you want to experience the power of the spell with your own body. I am Ma Sungmai from the Cheongdam Guild in Seoul. For this demonstration, I will only disclose the defense statistics. You can refer to the detailed data below. Yang Yonghua Jate. If it's Ma Sungmai, then she can definitely know Woojin's true abilities in detail. She can't increase her defense with numerical data. It can rely on the power of skills or artifacts. Her physical defense is 101, and her magic defense is 155. If this is all he's got normally, it'll increase gradually during combat. Moreover, he recalled the scene from earlier, when he fought those guys. That strength, excluding those 3 useless guys. This was a good opportunity to test his strength against a defensive tanker. Thinking that, he told Ma Sangmi, I'm going all out. She immediately raised her shield and replied, I'm ready. At that moment, the announcer spoke. Now then, for the safety of our viewers, we will activate the stage barrier. As soon as she finished speaking, from the stage, a net appeared, separating the stage from the audience below. He softly chanted a magic regulation spell. Dead on. Magic missile. As soon as he finished speaking, a torrent of water attacked her shield. She thought to herself, each shot is already powerful on its own, but he fired 5 at once? He continued chanting without pause. Fireworks from his fingertips. Burning hands. A flash of light shot towards her. The crowd below was in an uproar at the sight. But why? Didn't Jai-Hai react to such a powerful spell? On her side, cracks appeared in her shield before it shattered completely. Yui, watching from below, couldn't help but think. Masumi's defense broke for the first time. She was also an awakened, classified at the highest rank among them. Her defenses crumbled so easily. The thought made her smile unconsciously. Above, even with her shield broken, she persisted. Dohyuk, I don't think you've shown me everything yet. The framework is still intact. I feel like you haven't truly begun. Show me more. With that, she took a defensive stance, her expression burning with fighting spirit. Below, Dohyuk was amused by this. He remarked, she, who refused to cooperate, because in magic, no one has ever satisfied her. Is she intrigued? If I can recruit him, this will be a magnificent feast. High above, Dohyuk heard her words, a smile spreading across his face. All right, he replied, I understand. I'll show you. With that, he shouted, burning hands. This time, it wasn't just one flame, but multiple bursts of fire launched towards her. Suddenly, he did something completely unexpected. The entire stage exploded. Even the protective barrier had a huge hole blasted through. Everyone in the hall was utterly stunned. As the smoke cleared, Masumi appeared unharmed, though covered in dust. She seemed surprised by what had just happened. He scratched his head and said, sorry, I didn't think it would be this powerful. She replied, "It's all right. This is probably a badge of honor, a wound I've earned." After a long time, as she finished speaking, she collapsed, clutching her leg. He extended a hand and said, "Thank you for helping me." At that moment, she took his hand and replied, "I hope to see you again." Just then, the announcer's voice boomed. "We must pause the performance due to a stage malfunction." After she finished, he looked down at the crowd and said, "I'll state my conditions now. I won't join any guild, not a contract, as a guild member, but I'll operate as a mercenary. A strategic partnership contract." Someone in the audience spoke up, dissatisfied. "If it's not about joining a guild, then the money we offered you is worthless." He listened and replied firmly, "Then those people can leave." The man immediately stood up. Before leaving, he didn't forget to throw a sarcastic remark. "Such a mediocre ability, and you dare to boast, Xianju? Let's go." Following that, many others stood up. They chattered as they walked away. Mercenaries? Spellcasting ability is good. But if that's the case, they wouldn't need to invest 100 billion. Raising a mercenary won't make their guild rich. He looked at the two remaining people and asked, "So, it's just the two of you left?" The two remaining were none other than Jai and Yuhi. Jai asked first, "Why would they invest 100 billion in a mercenary group instead of having them join the guild?" He replied with a sly grin, "It would be difficult to become a contractor, receive a down payment, and then do absolutely nothing. Join forces? About that, I plan to sell this artifact. For profit." A drone-like object appeared beside him. Jang Chan-ho, astonished, said, "You're saying you can craft these kinds of products?" Jai, equally surprised, exclaimed, "Unbelievable. Not only spellcasting abilities, but could you be a reincarnator?" Seeing their astonishment, he calmly gestured for them to be quiet, then replied, "That's a secret." The woman decisively responded, "Work diligently. I accept your terms. Contract duration, 5 years. Warring Guild absolutely needs you." Yuhi, who had been quiet until now, spoke up, 150 billion and, plus they'll pay 1.5 times more than what the Pear Blossom Guild offered. After news broke about the 150 billion contract signing, netizens reacted fiercely, with countless malicious comments. He browsed the web, marveling at the speed the news was spreading. It had only been a day since the official contract signing, but the information had spread like wildfire. He hadn't told his parents, afraid they'd worry. Fortunately, they didn't object. He recalled the messages his parents and younger sister had sent him. His father advised, "No matter what, your life comes first. Never go to dangerous places recklessly." His mother also reminded him, "Safety first. Most importantly, be careful and don't get into any trouble." Your sister too. They're all worried and have been texting. He looked at the messages, smiled happily, and thought, "Rest a bit, and then get more relics." Today's relics include Kim OK Bun's bracelet, Marathon Runat Kim Yikangel Shozis, an old prayer book, an elderly couple's wedding ring. He looked at the relics and thought, "Let's check the stats." Looking at the stat sheet, he exclaimed, "Intelligence and magic power, over 300. The rest are close to 100. I could become a famous awakened by noon. Huh? Now, it seems I should focus on collecting incantations rather than relics. Well, should I give it a try?" Later, he arrived at the guild hall in Seoul. The crowd bustled around, whispering and gossiping as they saw him. "Isn't that Do Hyuk from SAO? I really don't understand what Master is thinking. A rookie like him joining the SAO guild?" Hearing their gossip, he thought, as expected, they're really dissatisfied with me. There's no other way around it. On the surface, I'm just a rookie, being looked down upon. He shrugged it off and approached the reception desk. "Excuse me, I'm here to see Master." The receptionist cheerfully replied, "Please wait a moment." Just then, a voice called out from behind him, "Who might this be? Isn't that Do Hyuk, the rookie who just signed with SAO?" The group from afar, seeing him approach, someone whispered, "Chol Gunman is at it again. Juhyuk, what are we going to do about the initiation ceremony this time?" Overhearing their whispers, he wondered, "Initiation ceremony?" The man extended his hand in greeting. "Pleased to meet you. That's Jeonchul." Juhyuk cheerfully introduced himself. "I'm Juhyuk." As Juhyuk shook his hand, Jeonchul smirked slyly and squeezed his hand with excessive force. The unexpected pain made Juhyuk wince. He thought to himself, "Initiation ceremony. I've seen this in movies. A preemptive strike with a handshake. But I can't let this slide. Thinking that, he chanted the spell. After chanting the spell, his entire body was covered in a shield. The other guy, after using his strength, was shocked to see him unharmed. He thought, shouldn't there be some kind of reaction? Who is this guy anyway? At that moment, he whispered provocatively into the swordsman's ear. Is this all you've got? I can show you a little more if you like. Hearing his provocation, he flew into a rage and increased his power. The onlookers, seeing him use this power, exclaimed, isn't this too much? Look at that guy. He doesn't even look fazed. Seeing this, the other guy became furious and used even more power. He scoffed and asked, is that all? The passing ceremony wasn't anything special, was it? The other man responded cryptically, good. Don't regret this, newbie. Jinwoo observed the man and thought, isn't his spirit too weak? Then, both of them simultaneously increased their power. The ground beneath their feet exploded outwards. The onlookers, seeing the situation escalate, shouted, stop! This is getting out of hand. Quickly get someone. Meanwhile, the two men were intensely focused. The other man yelled, but suddenly he went silent and collapsed onto the floor. Behind him, a woman appeared with a furious expression. Pointing the weapon that had knocked the man out, she said, I just got back from a dungeon. And what's going on here? You need to teach Instructor Cheol some manners. Michiol once more. At that moment, someone appeared from behind her and replied, it seems his methods of education were lacking. This time, he will re-educate them properly. Watching this, he thought, not the military, but individual education, an awaken, huh? She finally addressed him. Mr. Dohyuk Woojin, I heard you were looking for me. Shall we go up? He looked at her, thinking, you appear at such a convenient time for me to indirectly display my power in front of the awakened guild members. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. After pondering the reason for her coincidental appearance, he answered her question. Yes, I understand. Then he followed her up to the master's room, a guild room in Seoul. He looked around the room and asked, this place is? Hearing his question, she quickly replied, yes, this is the guild's master room, and also the director's office in Seoul. He wondered, is it okay to share it with the director's office? She replied to his question, yes. It's like home here. Besides, it's unexpectedly normal. After signing the contract, you should be busy spending money. On your first day, right? He explained, spending money isn't urgent, so. Besides, the reason I came to see Master is to find a dungeon suitable for my abilities. Surprised, she asked, a dungeon? He answered directly, yes. A dungeon with mechanized monsters. Have you ever seen one? She happily replied to his question, yes. It just so happens I have a list. Danjian, machine-type monster, abbreviated as Cinderine D731. This is an EF-rank dungeon. The boss monster is the Goblin Engineer. Take a look at this. This is a list of subcontracted dungeons from the guild. It's also a gift for you, she said as she tossed it to him. Surprised and curious, she explained, seeing his reaction, since you signed the mercenary contract, will help you. Because the stronger you are, the more we benefit. Our guild benefits too. Understanding her explanation, he replied, I see. He looked at what she had thrown and thought, I came here for the golem blueprint, but I'm getting unexpected benefits like this. This dungeon shares some similarities with dungeons D and F. The golem blueprint will definitely appear here. Seeing his joyful smile, she spoke up, Yu Hyun, that dungeon currently belongs to our guild. I have a condition for allowing you into the dungeon. Can I go with you? In the basement training room of the guild in Seoul, Sung Yoon was breathing heavily, exhausted, holding a shield and a staff. She looked at the robots she had just defeated. Suddenly, a light pink towel flew towards her. You've been training since morning. Aren't you tired? Seeing him carrying a man, she asked, Instructor Park Hyukti, what is that? Ah, this. He looked at the man on his shoulder and dropped him to the ground. It seems he caused trouble with Yu Hyun in the lobby, and Master saw him. So, Master entrusted me with whipping him into shape. Wiping the sweat from her face, she replied, Do-hee Woo, the one who signed that massive 150 billion won contract. Park Jati nodded and continued. That's right, he set a new record for the highest down payment, Sumi. No. Have you ever tried blocking one of Do-hee Woo's attacks before? Glancing down at her left arm, a large bruise was still visible. That injury, is it from a while ago? Sumi grinned excitedly and said, I've never been this excited before. This time, I want a proper fight. Hearing that, he chuckled and replied, well, It's good that you found someone you like. Yes, sir. Sumi, Park Jati brought a hand to his chin thoughtfully. Anyway, Sumi, you still haven't fixed that way of speaking, have you? You mean, just fix that tone, and you'll sound like a strong woman. Looking at her toned abs, she said to him, I come from a military family, so it's become a habit. I hope you understand. I'm sure I'll find a position for you soon. If you were on my team, you'd be a great asset. Hey, don't push yourself too hard. It's not good for you. Yes, I understand. Elsewhere, at 6 a.m. near Syndrome Station, Hero Woojin, please come in. The main character said to the woman in front of him, Master, you work fast. I didn't expect my first dungeon run to be this early in the morning. Hearing that, she politely replied, This is a normal time for our guild. Plus, I've already told the porters to get ready, so we just need Do Hyuk to be prepared. Looking at the porters, he thought to himself, the porters are just people who clean up monster corpses. Most of them are ordinary people, unable to awaken. But as expected of a rank 7 guild in South Korea, even the porters are all awakened. Is this to show newbies what dungeons are like? Besides outflicks and the magnetic field zone, there's no other chance to see monsters, right? Snapping out of his thoughts, he turned to Baek Doo-hee. So, can we go in now? Even though it's late, are you sure you'll be okay alone? He smiled. Yes, I'm confident I won't die. Such amazing confidence. Looking on, a blue light appeared. He said, Of course, this confidence is calculated. Then a blue light began to spread, opening up another dimension. Do-hee and Woojin's eyes sparkled as they looked at Dan Jian. My first awaken, let's go. With that, they both stepped inside. A gloomy scene appeared. The main character stepped out and observed the surroundings. Baek Do-hee followed, stepping out to take in the scenery. Dan Jian, it has a random structure and shape, but this time it's a jungle type, huh? Nothing seems strange or special. So you, Do-hee and Woojin, as I said yesterday, I'll be watching from behind. Show me your true abilities. Walking away a bit, the main character thought, so, where should we go? On one side, a dense forest with towering trees. On the other, a vast grassland, looking flat and open. I'll choose the grassland. But, activating his power, he declared, I'll go into the forest on the left. The strength of Amber Shield. A shield materialized, enveloping the protagonist, and gradually turning invisible. They thought he'd go for the grassland, seemingly easier to hunt in. But on the right, if the monsters were intelligent, they would have prepared a series of traps. Stepping into the dim, foggy forest, he moved cautiously, using the trees for cover. Suddenly, bullets flew towards him. They exploded upon impact with the shield. Fortunately, thanks to the shield, he was unharmed. In the thick fog, a shadowy figure moved towards the monsters. He was the culprit behind the recent attack. Sensing someone approaching, they immediately went on high alert. Suddenly, Do-hyun charged forward like lightning, directly into the horde of monsters. A hail of projectiles aimed straight for him, but he effortlessly dodged them. In the blink of an eye, he took down all the outer monsters and pushed deeper inside. I've pinpointed their location. Grasping the situation, he swiftly eliminated the remaining monsters. Are there any more left? Suddenly, a group of monsters ambushed Do-hyun, leaping down from the trees. They were holding bomb-like devices. He drew lines in the air, creating a shield which enveloped him, protecting him from the massive explosion those monsters caused. Looking at them, he scoffed. These fools think that level of power can pierce through the fireworks created by my burning hands? His hands glowed like embers. Those monsters couldn't even react before being incinerated by the wide-range attack. Screams and explosions echoed deafeningly. Ash fell upon the forest. Everything fell silent once more. Nothing special. He continued walking, leaving the monster corpses behind. Nothing interesting, just keep moving forward. Following the path, he suddenly stopped before the scene ahead. They say the traps here are diverse, a truly cunning labyrinth. They approached Yuchan, arms transformed into sharp blades, attacking the main character. He didn't flinch, charging straight at the giant robot. His hand touched it, his lips murmuring, Magic missile. A blue explosion successfully destroyed one. These underlings are enough, aren't they? Suddenly, the eyes of the robot next to him glowed red. It lunged at him with lightning speed, but he quickly countered. The Goblin Lord continued to control another to attack Do-hyun. Another explosion, but unfortunately, it hit the shield. The Goblin Lord continued punching from inside. He yelled, "Extreme precision magic conditioning." Drones in the air emitted beams of light. Magic missile. They aimed directly at the rotten golem. He was about to fire another shot when another robot charged at Yu Yun, sending him flying. The rotten golem clutched its bleeding eye, glaring furiously at Yu Yun. Then it commanded the robot to attack relentlessly. Unable to dodge, he countered with a magic missile, blasting its head clean off. Yu Hyun smirked. The unquenched rage returned. The boss suddenly conjured a massive fireball, catching Yu Hyun off guard. It charged. He barely managed to raise his shield in time. The shield shattered, sending him stumbling back. The shield's broken. That was close. Thanks, Hyosio. His attention suddenly shifted. The cannon was almost fully charged. And now time is running out. Without hesitation, he runs towards the golden cross. But other giant robots block his path. He smirks. Smoke appears. Mirage of delusion. The illusion successfully deceives them. However, the Golden Cross robot's attack, while seated, is fully charged just as the protagonist approaches. He immediately stops, backing away. He's stunned to see Juhyuk use fireworks conjured from his fingertips, burning hands. A wide-range attack incinerates the boss. Seeing its effectiveness, he rejoices. Suddenly, a hand emerged from the smoke, grabbing the protagonist by the throat. To make matters worse, the cannons were loaded. The situation spiraled out of control. Baek Do-hee panicked, as the Golden Ross was still alive. Observing from afar, Baek Do-hee was equally astonished. Baek Do-hee was horrified to see the Golden Ross alive and strangling the protagonist. "I can't just let him die," she exclaimed. She drew her sword, ready to attack. "I have to intervene." Just as she was about to strike, she suddenly stopped. The protagonist was drawing a heart in the air. A sweet, enchanting whisper filled the air. In an instant, the Golden Ross gazed at him with love-filled eyes. He smirked triumphantly as it released its grip. "Good, very good. You fell for it." Suddenly, blue beams fired from the cannons. A barrage aimed directly at Yu-chan. He quickly jumped down, speechless in shock. Grid's robot suddenly collapsed, shielding him from the relentless attack. Baek Do-hee watched from afar. Seeing the strange action, she thought to herself, the boss's action just now, was it to protect Yu-chan? The smoke gradually cleared. Behind the smoke was the badly damaged robot, burning and falling, shattered into pieces. Baek Do-hee ran over, shouting, "Yu-chan, are you okay?" Brushing aside some components that had fallen on him, he replied, "Phew, that was close. That was really close." Dusting off his clothes, he said to her, "I was surprised by the boss's resilience. More than I expected. I didn't think burning hands wouldn't finish it off. But this much." I think it ended as predicted. The cannons were smoking. Goblin corpses scattered on the ground. The system voice announced, "Level up, level up, level up, level up. Magician level 20. Feeling himself grow stronger, he happily muttered to himself, "So, a huge amount of experience points. Huh." And the items dropped by the boss. There are 3 books, 2 scrolls, a stone emitting, a blue light the size of a ball. Then Baek Do-hee called him, "Dewey, Wu Jin." Although I have a lot of curiosities about the spell he used in the fight against the boss just now, and another thing, but Wu Jin still has to check the dropped items. So I'll go ahead. Watching this match, I have a feeling Wu Jin isn't awakened, with the potential power of 150 billion. I hope you'll help me in the future. After saying that, Master left. After that, I checked the dropped items myself. First a level 1 gravity stone, next a level 2 spell, power plus 50, a level 2 web spell. When I use it and hit the target, the opponent is restrained. A level 2 divine beast, summoned illusion, a clone that mimics my actions, and the golem blueprint I wanted. Intermediate spatial stone, golem blueprint. Using a complete set of intermediate spatial stones can craft a golem. Goblin mechanical engineering blueprint, 5 pages. This is the cannonball blueprint that goblins use. It can produce 3 types of cannonballs. I'm satisfied with the dungeon rewards and can leave now. Reading the crafting recipe, he was incredibly excited. A level 2 sacred beast and a stone crafting recipe. Should I try making it now? 3 days later, in the basement of the guild training facility in Seoul, a sound came from the speaker. "Are you sure this is okay?" "Yes." "Now, set the mannequin's intensity and AI to maximum." The protagonist replied, Date said while pressing the control panel. Since the training dummies levels are maxed out, they'll attack the moment they detect a target. Be prepared. Just then, Black Yuhi entered. Didn't you just leave the dungeon? What's going on this time? He turned to her and said, I have a business proposition for Master. About the drone. You showed me before, right? He gestured towards her. Take a look. Suddenly, Day shouted. Training dummy deployment complete. They will attack immediately. Danger. The training dummies began to move. Looking at them, the protagonist muttered, Appear, Diagon. From within the wall, another dimension opened. Something slammed onto the floor. It was a giant robot. With blazing eyes, Wu Jin stood beside Yuhi and Baekhyui, aiming directly at the dummy. One punch, two punches. The dummy shattered instantly. The giant robot exuded an aura of power. Yuhi was extremely satisfied while Baekhyui was utterly surprised. Are you planning to sell that golem? Too bad. That's just for me. I brought it to check its performance before I go. Danjian, I see. Okay, call Afin. Afin responding, the robot answered. He continued, Master is waiting. Clean up the remaining dummy with a spell. Afin understood. It then extended its hand towards the dummy in front. Burning hands. Its hand radiated intense heat, forming a large flame that shot towards the dummy, incinerating it. Because the flames were so intense, the surrounding monsters were also incinerated. Dewey, stunned into silence, feigned a cough. This is the first time I've seen a golem with such intelligence, so I'm a bit surprised. Sorry, the protagonist chuckled softly. It's understandable to react that way to seeing an iron golem for the first time. Curious, she asked, well then, if it wasn't the golem, what item did you want to sell? I want to sell this. He placed a skull-shaped object resembling a ball on the table. First, this is the Great King Cannonball. From a different dimension, he pulled out a spherical mass. Next, the surprise freeze cannonball. And finally, the blinding cannonball. The protagonist presented Doohee with a black sphere, accented with two glowing circles. Hearing that, she exclaimed, Wait a minute! Wu Jin was confused. The space where you're pulling these cannonballs from? What is it? Turning to look at the space before him, he answered casually. This what? It just appeared coincidentally. Hearing this, she spoke even louder. Subspace abilities aren't randomly generated powers. This ability, among all awakened individuals, is an S-rank ability usable by only one person. The main character smiled calmly. Perhaps I'm just incredibly lucky. Contrary to him, Park De-hee seemed doubtful. Lucky? Currently, aren't you demonstrating traits that surpass the norm by leaps and bounds? That's why I'm the rare one. Well then, could the person behind you open the training room door for me? Yes. The training room door opened. He launched the Great King Cannonball while saying, I'll show you the effectiveness of this cannonball. More directly than a verbal explanation. Then he threw the cannonball inside. The first one is the Great King Cannonball. It turned red, heading towards the mannequin. A terrifying explosion erupted, incinerating everything. Baggy Day was overwhelmed. Incredible power, Master. The wall was covered in stone. The space was melting. We might have to pause the celebration because of the high temperature. Ju Hyuk held out a freezing cannonball. Don't worry, I'll take care of it with this. The second one, the surprise freezing cannonball. As soon as he threw it, a giant block of ice appeared. The entire training room was covered in layers of ice. This ice is only meant to freeze momentarily. It'll detonate in 10 minutes. What do you think, Master Ko? Becky Duhi replied. Very good. Show me the other one. He tossed her a pair of glasses and said, Put these on first. How thoughtful of you. Throwing another bomb. Finally, the sight-depriving flashbang, a brilliant flash of light, erupted, obscuring the vision of everyone around. Amazed by the effects of all three bombs, she asked, all three seem very useful. How much are they worth? The price is a secret. I'm planning to sell them for 6 million won. When supplying the guild, 10 million won if sold externally. Haha, it's a shame I couldn't guess the price. Pandora's box is most beautiful when left unopened, he said. With a fixed price, regardless of crafting. Sounds reasonable, right? This isn't just for combat or escaping dungeons, but can be used in various situations. Hearing that, he just chuckled. This price is cheap compared to the cost of a life, right? Mr. Do-hyuk, I'd like to propose a deal. What is it? If you sign an exclusive contract with our guild, we'll pay 10 million won per item. And so, the contract with the master was made. The next day, elsewhere, someone was hurrying towards Jai-Hai. Jai-Hai, shout master, something big happened. Jai-Hai, confused, asked what? What happened? Then he showed her. The stock market. Master, you have to see this. She looked at the chart and muttered, this. Changwa Group in Seoul launched the sale of dungeon-usable shells that could be used in dungeons through an exclusive contract with Yuji Hayek. She slammed her hand on the table in frustration. Back then, his crafting abilities were evident, no matter the cost. I have to recruit Yuji Hayek. But the contract has 3 years left, so we'll target him then. The person next to her quickly consoled her. She abruptly stood up and said, stop agreeing blindly. Think before you speak. She erupted in a tirade. Those around her couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity. Is it starting again today? This time it seems pretty serious. From what I see, it's because of the news about the Changwa Guild in Seoul. Today, Yuji Hayek's down payment was already 150 billion won when he was rank F. She angrily punched him. After 3 years, you think he's still F rank? He stammered, why yes, ma'am. He begged master. Where are they going? She answered angrily. Where else? Of course, to the Cheongdam-dong Guild to scout. You get ready too. He quickly replied, yes, I understand. Soon after, they arrived at the Cheongdam-dong Corporation. The office was bustling with activity. What about the cannonball contract? Which schools are we supplying? I heard that Yuji Hayek's product. The mercenary from Cheongdam-dong Guild. Is it true? The man said, yes, it's true. The product is being sold through an exclusive contract with the guild. The buyers, hearing this, excitedly asked, have you signed an affiliation contract with Mr. Juya? The person replied, that's master's decision, so I'm not sure. Above, she looked down and smiled. Just then someone approached. Isn't master not required to appear? She replied, is today the first day of cannonball sales? She smiled excitedly. And I thought something fun might happen, so I came. The girl beside her crossed her arms and asked, what is it, exactly? The girl quickly answered, do you remember the incident 2 years ago? 2 years ago, because of prioritizing long-term attack permits, Kian Dungeon was abandoned. Throughout the southern region, the number 1 frontline and the Pear Blossom Guild, along with the guild in Seoul, had a falling out. At the time, Richie not only spread rumors to defame the Seoul Guild, but also spread malicious information about Baek Do-hee, who was only 18 years old at the time. Eventually, he secured priority rights to the dungeon. After that, the relationship with the Seoul Guild remained strained. In disputes between guilds, rumors like these are common, but they underestimated her. I didn't expect her to be here this time. Today, I don't want to miss that woman's expression. The female lead smiled. The girl next to her asked, let's go down and take a look. Suddenly, from below, the grumpy woman exclaimed, Jeonghwa, don't you feel a chill? She couldn't help but shiver. The man beside her asked, what's wrong? I don't know. Just then a voice called out, oh my Yujin, long time no see. She forced a smile. Meanwhile, the female lead feigned innocence, saying, if you had contacted me beforehand, I would have come down. She chuckled nervously, unsure how to respond, then said, I wonder what brings the guild master here. The female lead replied, today is the first day Juhyuk is selling his cannonballs, and there's a great event at the guild, so I couldn't miss it. Yujin smiled awkwardly. What a coincidence. I came here to find you, Juhyuk. The female lead chuckled and said, really? Then let me lead you to the private lounge. At this moment, the two women were silently confronting each other. Meanwhile, he looked down at the scene below and forced a smile. I don't want to go there at all. Just then, a voice called out, excuse me, I came to... Where can I put this new dimension? He replied, thank you. You can just put it next to me. The other person put it down. He smiled and continued, I can't move while crafting, so thank you for bringing it to me. The other person said, you're welcome. Then he looked up in surprise, recognizing who it was. It was Ma Sangmi. She saw him and replied, we haven't seen each other since the auction, have we? Hearing that, Do-hyuk quickly asked, how did you know I was here? Ma Sangmi replied, master told me you were here while I was looking for you. Do-hyuk asked, you were looking for me? Is there something I need to do? She replied, yes, Do-hyuk. Please spar with me again. She said with a determined look, looking into her eyes. He was a bit puzzled. With me? Sangmi said, yes. Last time, I only blocked your attacks, so this time, I want to fight you directly. Please have a match with me. Seeing her expression, he didn't know how to respond. He relaxed his hands. A match? I'd love to. He smiled comfortably. Seeing that, she became excited as well. I'll get ready now, she said with determination. Seeing her expression, he was a bit speechless. Could you wait for me a moment? Since I'm still crafting, it might take a while. Hearing that, Sungji pulled out a chair and cheerfully sat down. Seeing this, he couldn't help but feel a little helpless. You could come later, but she excitedly said, no, I'll wait for you here. If there's anything you need, just ask. Seeing her enthusiasm, Yoo-hyun could only remain silent, then smiled. He stood up. The guild submission quota is done, and now I just need to focus on working. Let's go. Hearing that, she immediately stood up with a smile. Yes, I understand. He had also put on his combat gear. The two of them were ready to face each other. Have you equipped all the provided gear? He replied, yes, but what is this equipment? Masumi answered. This protective gear is set with a customizable durability index and becomes our stamina. Depending on the stamina level, the color will change in the order of green, yellow, red. It helps the defense block all attacks. And if the durability reaches 0, the suit will shut down and the match will end. He was surprised to hear that. This equipment costs 25 billion won? What an amazing item, Masumi declared resolutely. Master says this price is cheaper than having a guild member injured. He smiled at that. We're fighting each other with this high-level equipment, but wouldn't it be a waste to just fight? He proposed a wager to make the fight more interesting. Masumi looked confused. A wager, you say? He began to explain the rules. If I win Masumi for the agreed-upon duration, you'll become my exclusive tanker. Conversely, if you Masumi win, I'll become your exclusive mage. She asked, what about the time frame? He replied, the duration is 3 months. Of course, it's free of charge. What do you say? Doesn't it sound exciting? She pondered for a moment. Suddenly, someone approached. That sounds interesting. Both of them were startled. Master, what are you doing here? I thought you were talking to Go Jeonyin. She smiled. Ah, you saw. Thanks to your cannon fire. It's been a while since I've seen Jeonyin SSI in such an interesting situation. I was just about to thank you. She then asked Master, I'm rank D, and Ujahyak SSI is rank E. Do I need to give him a handicap? He replied, in a match like this, I'll decline. You don't need to give me any handicap. Master replied, such confidence. Amazing. What do you think? Masumi resolutely replied, then I won't give any handicap. Then get ready. Master stepped aside and signaled. The two of them took their fighting stances. This time, I'll go all out. He responded, I'll be different. Compared to the image she had shown him in the previous match, the master smiled and said, begin. Immediately, the two of them rushed towards each other. I need to provoke him before the spell is cast. So she began to utilize her abilities, quickly attacking him head-on, immobilizing him. My legs are moving on their own, against my will? Is this a provocation skill? He couldn't help but be surprised. Then he started charging forward. The sheer force of his strength, his mastery of precise magical control. Magic missile. Seeing him charge, she quickly raised her defenses. Steadfast block. Steadfast defense. Activating the skill that increases defense by 50%. Immobile. Capable of automatic counterattacks. He looked straight ahead, fighting seriously. She provoked him, trying to draw him out, and then focused on strengthening her defenses. Counterattacking through resilient defense. A very methodical approach. He suddenly thrust his hand forward, energy gathering at his fingertips. Although he could overwhelm her with firepower, he didn't want to end it that way. He continuously used his speed, attacking her relentlessly. Just when she thought she had dodged the attack, Masumi suddenly looked around. It was a smokescreen. She immediately activated her magic detection ability, scanning for magic for 3 minutes, then displaying it in her vision. Now looking around, she saw countless blue dots of magic. She's learned so many spells already. She couldn't help but be astonished. Then a bright light shone directly onto her face. Ma Sungmai quickly raised her hand to block the force. That must have consumed a lot of magical power. He'll approach her to finish her off now. Immediately she saw multiple Ujahyak appear. Each Ujahyak had a different expression. Absolute precision in magical manipulation. She froze. Caught off guard, he lunged at her. Suddenly, another figure dashed behind her. His attack began to gather in his palm. Magic missile. She was directly struck in the back. But then he realized Ma Sung-mai was a tanker, raised in the Soul Guild, so she wasn't easily defeated. He immediately realized the problem. Her face was filled with killing intent. As she turned back to attack him, he panicked and froze. In a flash, Ma Sung-mi spun around, attacking towards Yuji Hyuk. She slashed at his clothes. She relentlessly attacked him with dangerous moves. He couldn't react in time and was sent flying. Cancel tenacious defense. Gale wind. Her gale wind would increase her movement speed by 40% for 5 seconds. Immediately, she dashed towards Yuji Hyuk, her sword raised. His jaw dropped in astonishment. He was overwhelmed by her relentless attacks, and just as she unleashed a fatal blow towards him, he was sent flying, crashing into the ground with a shattering impact. As the dust settled, Ma Sung-mi, breathing heavily, looked at the scene before her. Master, on the other side, couldn't help but smile. As expected of Sung-mi, her strength has increased. In such a short time, suddenly she noticed something. Huh? Ma Sung-mi had been restrained without her realizing. Surprised, she exclaimed, "What is this? This shimmering, sticky stuff? It's spider silk." She couldn't help but touch it. Master looked up, scanning their surroundings. "All this shimmering, it's all spider silk, isn't it?" Meanwhile, Ma Sung-mi, unable to move, gritted her teeth. "Do Hyuk, what is going on?" He smiled, standing up. "After I created the smokescreen, I placed it all over the arena. Even though," she said, "this armor could protect us no matter what, I didn't want to attack Sumi with anything that exceeded the armor's limits. So, the way to end the match wasn't through lack of magical energy or close-range combat, but for her to realize the weakness as well." He replied, "Yes," leading the attack to break through the strong defense. Although in the end, the strong defense was broken and it almost became dangerous. She was surprised and smiled. "I lost this match, but I'll definitely win next time." He replied, "Yes, we'll spar again." She then said, "Well then, can you take this off me now?" By now, her whole body was getting tired from holding the same position. He responded, flustered, "Sorry, I got carried away talking." He quickly retracted the threads. A clap rang out, causing both of them to turn. Master clapped and smiled. "You both worked hard. The winner of this match is Yu Hyuk." She took his hand and said, "Jung-mi, thanks to you." He smiled back. "Of course. Leave it to me." Meanwhile, at the bakery and guild office, a woman looked outside, pensively watching the sunset. "Vice Master, the assassins have just entered the country." Someone entered the room. She asked, "So security is still maintained?" The other person replied, "Of course, ma'am. Initially, we agreed to a confidential deal with Antinous. This matter must be kept absolutely secret." "All right, you've done well. You can leave now." Afterward, the person left. The girl looked back and remained silent. She glanced at the picture, posted on the latest news bulletin. "Dacha Wujin, an ability like a goose that lays golden eggs. But instead of coming to me, he joined a guild in Seoul. If I can't have him, no one can." Immediately, long cracks appeared on the phone screen. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a group of people were descending, carrying suitcases, their presence shrouded in mystery. "All right, I've arrived. Give me some information about that kid, so I can try to find him," the two men in front said. Seoul National University truly lives up to its reputation. "It's a paradise for hot guys, isn't it?" The guy with glasses retorted, "Idiot, shouldn't we quickly finish the job and get back to the countryside? When the water rises, time to get paid. We're here to make money. Quickly snap that kid's neck and let's get out of here. Got it?" The other guy responded, "Yes, sir." Then the two of them turned towards the man wearing sunglasses. "Boss, that kid Do Hyuk is pretty famous. We should be able to find him within a day." "Is that so? Then let's relax nearby and quickly grab him." The man continued, "Even if he's famous, he's only rank F. And this much money, isn't this job too good to be true? We just need to do what's asked of us." A murderous aura emanated from them. "Well, let's go take care of that fly." Meanwhile, in another dungeon, monsters surged forward, instantly torn apart by a gust of wind. It was Ma Sung-mi. One by one, the monsters were swiftly defeated by her. She dashed forward, her movements agile and precise. Sung-mi looked towards the distance. A surge of energy shot out, striking the monsters. Instantly, they all collapsed to the ground. Although it felt like sparring, The power was stronger and faster. Confused, she glanced back. Sami, let's go. These guys are too boring now. He sighed, a hint of boredom in his voice. If you have such powerful spells, then a tanker like me has nothing to do. But watch. I'm basically just a glorified porter at this point. I can't be a tanker who can't even help. She couldn't help but feel angry and helpless. I need to quickly find a job that tanker can do. Lost in thought, Juhyuk suddenly spoke up. Sami, what are you thinking about? She quickly said, oh, it's nothing. Just thinking about random things. More than anything, I'm surprised. Your flycam? Juhyuk, I saw that it's a craftable item usable inside the SAO dungeon. He replied, while going around the dungeon today, I'll show you things more interesting than this. Also, Sangmi, I told you that you can talk comfortably with me from now on, but are you still shy? She remained silent, not answering. He then said, there are many people who have a hard time speaking comfortably with others. So take your time and tell me. Sungjin replied, yes, I understand. He continued, today is the first day, and I'll be constantly moving to buff. So you should move proactively. Even if you're the tanker, you don't necessarily have to stick close to me. We need to coordinate with each other. She replied, yes. Suddenly, a rumbling sound, like a giant monster approaching. They both raised their guard. In front of them appeared a group of muscular humanoid monsters. He said, now, the main monster of this dungeon has appeared. She became serious. Despite the golem's large size, slow-moving, high regeneration, but not very strong offensively. But there are exceptions. He reminded her, Xiaomin, I need you to draw the attention of the golem and goblins up ahead. He said, making her turn her attention back to him. Yes, I understand, but it might be difficult to hold them for long. His expression turned serious. I know. I'll take care of the goblin shaman first. Then I'll come back for the rest. Those goblin shamans, they seem to be the leaders. If the golem and goblin shaman work together, using some kind of spell, they can revive goblins and golems into warriors. A bright light. At that moment, they all charged forward. The monsters roared and attacked ferociously. The two of them directly engaged Eren. Immediately, a warrior charged forward and unleashed a punch, knocking the monster off its feet. It was sent flying backward with a. Just then, Masomi saw the robot and was stunned. What is that thing? He replied, don't worry, that's Voland. I built him. Eren, I need you and Eren to draw its attention. Execute. Seeing this, he immediately activated his stealth skill. She was stunned to see this. I was already surprised by the flycam and golden, but he can even learn stealth? Cloaking. Yuchan, my prejudice, just how much further? Will it be shattered? At that moment, the enormous monster charged towards them, even though it'll still be a while before I can be of help to you, Yuchan. But I will definitely complete the mission I've been given. She made up her mind. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a man appeared. Who are you? Why are you doing this? The man laughed and said, just clearing a couple of stones out of the way. Does there need to be a reason? Consider yourselves unlucky. Immediately after, the person was attacked. Then he reported, it's done here. Should I investigate further? The other person on the other end replied, all right, search around a bit. I think I found traces of Yu Hyun and Wu Jin, although I didn't think it would be this easy. But boss, Namjuneson, if we use this method, guarding the gate isn't punishable, is it? Easy peasy, right? The leader said, with land this scarce, does the Awakened Management Bureau, Namjo region, even have the manpower? It's a D-rank gate, so even AI can set it up. Whoa, boss, you even know that? You're so smart. Cut the crap. The porters will be here soon, go ahead. And just make sure you take care of you Jaehyuk and get out of here. Got it? The three of them headed towards the portal. Yes, we'll handle that. Fly and get out of here. Meanwhile, Yu Jaehyuk's group was still fighting the monsters. The battle was fierce. Yu Jaehyuk had gotten past numerous monsters. How could she have reached the gates safely like this? She couldn't help but be surprised. The monster shadows suddenly dispersed. Another robot appeared. Isn't that Juhyuk's golem? Eren, execute master's command. She exclaimed in surprise. Well done, Eren. Over here. Hyman shouted. He rushed to Hyman's side immediately. Lightning energy surged in his hands, forming a lightning sphere, which he launched directly at the monsters. A loud explosion echoed in the distance. She instinctively raised her arms to shield herself. All the monsters were now knocked to the ground. The scene was utterly devastated, leaving Miss Siamese speechless. He smiled and said, "Now things are getting serious." She was confused. "You're like a completely different person when you spar with me." Now, after training, did he have to meet with Mr. Kim for that? He replied immediately. "We met privately because we had some personal matters to discuss." After the training session, thanks to Mr. Kim, I was allowed to use the Chungcheong library, and I bought 3 books. On the surface, they're written in the language of this world, completely useless. But to me, they're identification, meaning each object has its own incantation. So I can find the incantation I need. Invisibility. You become invisible to others. The ability doesn't apply when attacking. Next, acid arrow shoots an acid arrow forward. Then lightning ball launches a ball of electricity forward, electrocuting anything it touches. He continued, "So, shall we try setting off again?" He lunged forward to attack. He charged forward. She couldn't help but dodge the falling objects around her. Now, only Golden's large silhouette remained. Mizumi turned to Yu Yun and said, "There aren't many left now." He replied, "You can rest if you want." But she didn't feel tired enough yet. "You're saying that now? I'll rest for a bit." Suddenly, he sensed something trembling. Both of them focused their attention forward. If it were just a feeling, it would be nice. He felt a pang of fear in his heart. Then he retracted the object in his hand. An invisible entity, invisibility ability. He immediately attacked forward. "Share your sensory perception with me." He sensed 3 assassins entering deeper into the cave. "They're not our people. They're not with us. But the KP forces are supposed to be guarding the dungeon entrance. Who are these strangers?" He asked Sumi, his voice serious. "What's wrong?" she asked. "What if," he continued, "there are unauthorized intruders in the dungeon? What should we do?" She replied, "First, we confirm if they have permission to be here. Then we force them to return. But if they show any intention to attack, we're authorized to eliminate them." Sumi fought back, creating an opening for Wu Jin to attack the monster. Magical attacks bombarded the creature, but it remained ferocious. Behind Wu Jin, figures lurked in the shadows, watching him. The divine beast's power isn't as terrifying as the rumors say, is it? They hid behind a large rock to discuss their plan. Who would have thought? In a high-ranked dungeon like this, we'd be so flustered. The leader leaned against the wall and calmly replied, "If we're taking money for this, we need to be discreet. I was just asking, since the target is just a kid with no special skills." The leader ordered them, "Hey newbie, you go first. See those minotaurs over there? Lure them here." The newbie replied, "So our boss can make a safe retreat, right? You mean hide and then grab the boy and girl while they're running from the minotaur? What? Are you playing dumb now, newbie? Just go and come back quickly." The man next to him instructed. The youngest, wearing a mask, said, "Yes, I'll be back soon." He dashed outside like lightning. The boss continued to order the remaining one. "Keep a close eye on what they're doing." "Yes, I understand, boss," he replied. On Wu Jin's side, he and Sangmi still hadn't taken down the Minotaur. Wu Jin said to Sangmi with a headache, "Let's take a break." "It seems tougher than I thought," Sung-ai said to him. "Perhaps the regenerative ability of this place is beyond expectations. This level of firepower seems to be just enough." The other guy observed them, suddenly exclaimed to his boss, "Boss, even so, it's unbelievable for the price of 150 billion. He replied, "Stop that. It looks like the monsters that guy is attracting are coming." 6 minotaurs, 9 goblins. Sung-ai cried out in surprise, seeing the monsters charging. Right behind them, the assassins revealed themselves, taking advantage of the distraction. One of them drew his weapon. "Boss, we can do this now, without a fight." The boss scoffed. "Can we really?" The underling remained confident. "Hey, this assassination is easier than eating rice cakes. So taking out the target and the girl is..." He licked his lips creepily and threw the knives. The knives flew towards Yuchan first, but he suddenly smiled. A knife pierced him, but his body flickered and vanished like an illusion. The assassins stared in disbelief. "Athena now?" The protagonist's voice rang out. A massive monster appeared behind the assassins. They slowly turned around. Then, seeing the orc, they gasped in shock. "What the hell is that?" One of them attacked it, but the orc grabbed him. "Ugh!" Orc's hand squeezed the man's face tightly. Jinwoo commanded, "Orc, throw!" It immediately flung both of them away. They landed in front of Jinwoo and his monsters. They all stared at each other in bewilderment. After the shock, the leader asked, "What's going on? How the hell should I know?" Jinwoo calmly walked towards them and said, "Try to backstab someone, only to have the tables turned. How does it feel?" Enraged, the underling charged at Jinwoo with a knife. "You damn dog." Do-hyuk simply raised a hand and touched him. Fireworks erupting from his fingertips, burning hand. The man was instantly incinerated in the explosion. The boss watched his underling consumed by flames, fear frozen on his face as he stared at Do-hyuk. This power was completely different from what he'd used against Joe. Was it not that he couldn't use such a spell, but that he chose not to? His eyes widened in shock. From the moment we targeted him, he knew we were behind him. Did this guy set a reverse trap? He stared at Do-hyuk in astonishment. Do-hyuk suddenly spoke. "Can you really afford to just stand there?" He snapped out of it and looked behind him. A bull was practically on top of him. The plan couldn't. The bull stared at him, drool dripping from its mouth. A terrifying sight. The terrified gangster cried out, "Save me!" The younger gangster, who had been hiding, revealed himself and attempted a sneak attack on Daksha. He lunged forward like an arrow, but his hand passed right through Daksha's body. He stared in shock at the dissipating particles. He quickly landed on the ground. The younger gangster looked up. Daksha stood right before him, conjuring orbs of light. Before he could react, Daksha hurled them at him. The younger gangster was severely injured by the attack. He wiped the blood from his mouth, warily eyeing Daksha. "I can't believe even my secret phase shift technique was detected. How did that guy figure it out?" A small drone hovered above Daksha's head. He noticed it. "What is that? Could it be that with that device, he's got us completely surrounded?" Yoo-hyuk said to him coldly, "You were too confident in your own strength." Behind the youngest, goblins had him surrounded. His vision blurred. His consciousness faded before Yoo-hyuk's eyes. "In the end, we're all in the palm of that kid's hand," Yoo-hyuk said to him calmly. "Have a nice trip." Boom! A loud sound rang out. At the Seoul Guild, Baek Do-ha and the protagonist were in the office. Baek Do-ha slid a document across the desk. She took a sip of water and said to him, "This is Q's investigation report on yesterday's incident. First, all three of them were from the outskirts, and as far as I know, they were likely assassins sent by the insect demons." Woo Jin wondered, "Ghost Ant, who is that?" Baek Yoo-hee's face darkened. She carefully explained to him, "That's an awakened, operating in a Chinese residential area. And because their name is unknown, they're called by a nickname. Besides, no one has ever seen Ghost Ant's face." The main character said, "I've never heard of them, not even in the news or papers." Baek Yoo-hee said, "There's no other way to put it. Ghost Ant is a twisted murderer who only targets awakened, famous in the world, and kills them." Park Do-hyuk touched the resumes and wondered, "Someone like that, why would they send henchmen to kill me?" Baek Yoo-hee replied, "Beneath them is a group of assassins from all over the world," and accepted a murder request. Perhaps this case is also a murder request. The protagonist asked her, "Can we find out about the requester?" Baek Do-sudoni fell silent. She put her glass down on the table with a clink. "Although this is just my subjective opinion, due to the auction, the stock prices have been rising, so someone might be trying to hinder Yu-ji Hyuk and our guild." Yu-ji Hyuk also became serious. He came up with a few names. "If that's the case, then it could be a high-ranking guild like the White Lotus Guild. Baek Do-hyuk is someone who thinks, if I can't have it, then it must be destroyed. Also, someone capable of doing such a thing in such a short time." Her eyes closed as if in deep thought. "Perhaps I already know who it is." Baek Do-hee's words unintentionally pressured the protagonist. He broke out in a sweat and asked, "Who is it?" Baek Do-hee remained silent for a moment. Then she said, "Revealing the mastermind without certainty could be problematic, so I won't discuss it." "Yes, that's a sufficient answer," the protagonist replied. Baek Do-hee handed the protagonist a card. "Also you?" "Do-hee, this is..." Do-hee took it. "What is this?" Baek Do-hee leaned back and advised, "A murder request like this might not be the end of it. So, it's best you seek protection from a guild, or hire personal security." Do-hyuk accepted it with a smile. "Yes, thank you for your concern. Well then, I have something to do, so if you'll excuse me." He stood up and left. Baek Do-hee immediately asked, "What do you have to do?" Do-hyuk smiled expectantly. "It's time for my E-rank promotion mission." At the entrance of a tower near Gwanghwamun, Do-hyuk changed his clothes. and walked on the stone floor of the building. The door slowly opened. He stepped forward. There was a large sign and several staff members there. It was bright inside, contrary to his expectations. There were quite a few staff members around. Suddenly, the person next to him spoke to Do-hyuk. "Sir, over there, please come this way. The rank promotion mission is about to begin. Please wait in front of the gate." The others were already standing before the door. But Wu Jin was curious about something else. "What's that big screen in front?" The man explained to him. "It displays records related to rank promotions, and those records are also saved in the Cube's database. Is there someone you're interested in? You can tell just by looking, right?" A short time means incredible ability. After their conversation, Wu Jin politely excused himself and walked towards the gate. While waiting, he thought, although I've been acting and caring about becoming famous, if I set a record and get the attention of, I might be able to access the state-managed library. If that happens, then it's possible to reach unimaginable spells beyond imagination. He confidently looked up and thought. Suddenly, a strange face came next to him and said, "Hey, old man, first time seeing you here, huh? If it weren't your first time, there's no way you'd challenge a rank increase looking like that." Do-hyuk turned and replied, "I came alone, so I didn't notice." The other guy was decked out in expensive gear, sparkling with light. He sneered, "Is it because you're broke? Looking all shabby like that, you think you can handle the mission and come out alive?" Do-hyuk calmly replied, "Well, I don't think that will be a problem. Besides, I don't even see a reason to waste my time and money on this stupid mission." He was enraged by his words. "A waste of time and money? How dare you? Do you even know who I am? Can't you see this insignia?" He revealed the symbol on his armor and shouted, "I'm a member of the Bakrian Guild." "Bakrian Guild? You should be scared," Yuchan said with a straight face. "Cut the crap and show me what you got." He continued to provoke him. "Ain't nobody who can't join a decent guild with beggar's items." Yuchan looked himself over. "Judging by my gear, you might be right," he said confidently. "We'll see what happens." Just then, an announcement rang out. "The gate is opening. Initialization complete. Awakened individuals who meet the criteria, please prepare." The man looked towards the protagonist with a sinister smile until the final announcement appeared. He didn't take his eyes off him. Commencement permitted. Ji-hyuk also did some warm-up exercises before entering. A moment later, the heavy sword was thrust into the ground. The man stretched, muttering to himself, "Feels so light. I'm Bakery and Guild's 5 billion won rookie. Under their intensive management, there's only one guy with beggar-like equipment. Competing with me? Obviously, with the initial 4-hour record, I'm sure to achieve at least 3rd place in this E-rank promotion test," he thought proudly. Outside, others were also eagerly running towards the notice board to see the results. "Whoa, amazing. Did someone break the 6th record? That's incredible." They continued to marvel and exclaim. As they looked at the results board, Kim Gutcheol was still delusional, thinking, "Yes, be as envious as you want. Kim Gutcheol's 6th record." But that thought immediately vanished when one of their voices rang out clearly. "As expected of you, Ji-hyuk, there's a reason for the 150 billion won contract." In first place was the main character again. Kim Gutcheol stared in surprise. "Upsilon-hyuk, a 150 billion won contract from a Seoul guild, and, not long ago, the creator of the cannonball usable in dungeons." Upsilon-hyuk. His lips stuttered as he spoke the name. Completely defeated, he collapses to the ground. Light footsteps approach him. Seeing how pathetic he looks in defeat, Ju-hyuk asks, "Think back to when you first stepped through the gate." The system constantly displayed notifications, guiding the awakened. "Honker promotion. Mission begins. Eliminate all monsters in the vicinity and proceed to the designated location." Monsters appeared in droves. Number of monsters eliminated, over 100. Massive monsters wielding sharp weapons were lying in wait. The protagonist immediately launched the first attack. The surrounding air turned crimson red. The skill Burning Hands unleashed a torrent of flames. The monsters were engulfed in flames, burning, but they remained unharmed, but even more ferocious. After that blow, it swung its axe at Arhin. The blow sent Arhin crashing to the ground. Yuchan had eliminated another monster. He turned to look at Arhin. Could it withstand Arhin's attack? But the axe only grazed Arhin's head, without causing any injury. Arhin continued channeling magic into the ground. A massive explosion engulfed the monster. It wasn't impossible to eliminate. Was it over already? He saw a small passage open up. After the system had processed enough monsters, Yu-chan stepped into the magic circle. The system chimed. Congratulations on completing the Rank E promotion quest. Completion time, 59 minutes and 35 seconds. After completing and achieving the record, the protagonist returned to his apartment. He made tea, lost in thought. Though the promotion mission was easy for him, Afghana and the Flycom's damage was still weak for battles against orcs and goblins. Besides himself, to strengthen the golem and Flycam. Then, he slowly poured his tea and opened the system window. In that case, I'll change classes. His class was immediately updated, Alchemist. All the accumulated time data has been captured. Suddenly, a system message popped up on the screen. Overall level not yet announced. You need to refresh your ranking. Yes, he replied, and clicked the yes button. The system then informed him, player Wujin has been promoted to rank E. Player Wujin is given the opportunity to choose a special divine blessing. He looked at the system message in surprise. Special divine blessing? A special divine blessing is a permanent passive effect granted to each character. The alchemist's special divine blessing is extraordinary alchemy. The sorcerer's is intelligence amplification, and the machinist's is replication. In DPF, these are effects that, if not obtained during character creation, can never be obtained later. They are permanently unattainable. At the dedicated building of the White Lotus Guild, Min Seoyin's bedroom inside the building. She sat on the bed and said, "This is a bit unexpected. Since the dark market incident, I haven't contacted you, yet you're here so early in the morning." Stroking her hair, she said cheerfully, "I've been wanting to see you, Yu Ji-hyuk." Yu Ji-hyuk replied coldly, "Is that so?" She continued, "Of course. A super rookie who has the world's attention." Yu Ji-hyuk said to her seriously, "I didn't come here for small talk, so I'll get straight to the point." Min Seoyin got off the bed. She replied, "Good. I'm also someone who enjoys a passionate love game." "So, what is it?" Yu Ji-hyuk asked, leaning on his hand. "Why are you trying to kill me?" Min Seoyin looked surprised. "What do you mean?" But Do-hyuk frowned, clearly unhappy about saying these things. "I know you asked the giant ants to hire assassins to kill me." Min Seoyin's expression remained unchanged. She tilted her head and replied, "I don't know what you're talking about. What are giant ants and assassins? And you said to kill you." She immediately walked over and grabbed the protagonist's hand. "Did something happen?" Looking at her face, Do-hyuk's resolve wavered slightly. Could she really be this worried? But he quickly pulled his hand back, collecting himself once more. Hasn't the White Lotus Society always had a bad reputation? He couldn't be fooled, especially not by Min Seoyin, a woman notorious for making money by any means necessary, regardless of the methods. With other talented individuals, I expected that answer from you. He pulled out the adjacent chair and said, "I'll give you two choices." Min Seoyin sat on the bed, innocently replying, "I don't know what you're talking about." Ju Hein was sat with one leg crossed over the other, calmly stating, "First, if you compensate me appropriately, I'll consider this matter closed, and I won't hold a grudge." Min Seoyin exclaimed in surprise. "That?" He cut her off. "Hear me out. Second, if I return empty-handed like this, I will reveal the identity of the assassin." Min Seoyin stopped feigning worry and replied, "What you're saying has nothing to do with the White Lotus Society." Ju Heinwu stood up from his chair. "You're free to take your stance. But when it's announced, you know very well who will suffer the greatest damage, right? So I don't think there's any room for negotiation." He reached for the door, about to leave. His hand gripped the doorknob tightly. Min Seoyin quickly spoke up. "Wait, how much do you want?" She started throwing out numbers. 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion. Just name your price. Do-hyuk coldly replied, 10 billion. Min Seoyin gasped, 10 billion? 10 billion won? For something that isn't even true? Do-hyuk glared at her and said, "Don't you think that your deductions and everything you've said and done so far is an admission of guilt?" Min Seoyin's true colors were immediately revealed. She gritted her teeth. "Fine, I'll take you there. But if this gets out?" She slowly stepped closer, a powerful magical aura erupting around her. "I will actually kill you." Her eyes glowed red with rage. Do-hyuk strolled toward his car. His phone still displayed the recent transaction history. A new message popped up, catching his attention. Instructions. to enhance the security system at Do-hyuk's residence. He recalled Min Seo-yeon's expression from moments ago. That killing intent, the approval rating, was no different from the rumors. And this wouldn't solve those difficulties. He unlocked his car. If the Ant Queen knew she'd failed 7 times, she would definitely send more assassins to salvage the situation. To be safe, he carefully locked the safety latch, determined to become even stronger. His phone lit up again, with messages from an unknown number. Did the Information Guild finally contact me? He muttered. Gaisu, should I go to Gaisu and pick up the book I ordered? The thought cheered him up. It's been a while since I went item hunting. Moments later, at a park near Gaisu, Shin Taepong sat on a bench, sighing. What could be wrong? In his hand was a company business card. He angrily crumpled it up. As a certified financial planner, I can handle this well. If that's the case, he stammered, about to say something, when his phone suddenly vibrated in his pocket. Inside, 2 of his friends were texting each other about the dungeon. Everyone was complaining about the difficulty. Yet that guy went into the dungeon once and earned 10 times more than them. It wasn't something to be proud of, Shin Taepong thought enviously. He pocketed his phone, continuing his walk through the park. Not being able to awaken in this era must be my fault. The ground beneath him suddenly shook violently. Shin Taepong looked around in a daze. Huh? What was that shaking? Behind him, a crack started to appear and spread wide. The light from it was blinding. It immediately sucked in those nearby, including Shin Taepong. Ouch! Hey! 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 They screamed in panic. Do you know happened to be close by, witnessing the entire incident? Boom! My awakening wasn't like this, sucking people in. Besides, he wasn't an awakened. If an ordinary person gets sucked in, they'll be torn apart by monsters. I have to save him. Thinking that, Yunho quickened his pace. But he suddenly stopped in surprise. Someone was walking down the middle of the road. He put up a stop sign. 2 people there immediately showed their ID cards and shouted to everyone around him, I'm an awakened Kim Jae-jung. Reporting to HQ, I'm an awakened Yoon Min. Monsters may appear suddenly, so please evacuate quickly. Do-hyun Woo thought to himself, relieved. Thank goodness, there are other awakened besides me. He immediately went over to them. I'm an E-rank awakened. Do-hyun Woo. I'm here to help. Kim Jae-jung politely replied to him. Hello. You can use this to control the traffic. Do-hyun Woo was surprised. Huh? He quickly said to them. What are you saying? We have to go save people. Kim Jae-jung and Yoon Min-soo immediately chuckled. Did you hear that? An E-rank Min-soo told us to go save people. Really? I thought I misheard. Kim Jae-jung placed a hand on the protagonist's shoulder and said, Hey, you E-rank. An E-rank like you shouldn't enter dungeons. It's unclear what rank you even are. Doing useless things. Go direct traffic or something. But the protagonist coldly replied, Since when did awakened people become traffic controllers? He frowned and told them, according to Article 1, Section 1 of the Awakened Charter, awakened people of Korea are those with special abilities. When dangerous situations arise, the awakened have a duty to protect ordinary people. That clause wasn't put in there for nothing, was it? Kim Jae-jung still didn't listen to the protagonist. He laughed in response. Another hero? And you think you can handle this? Do-hyuk didn't hesitate. Yes. Then stay out of this and get lost. Provoket Kim Vae-bong yellet. You think you're so tough. But Do-hyuk immediately activated his enhanced speed, rushing past them, heading straight for the gaping maw of the dungeon. Inside, a desolate landscape stretched before him. Shin Taepong found himself in a strange land. Where? He looked around in confusion. Just moments ago, he was at the gate of Isama. A sharp pain shot through his body. As he tried to stand, he realized a critical wound on his leg prevented him from moving. At this rate, I won't be able to get up. Shin Taepong struggled to move, but to no avail. Suddenly, small sounds continuously echoed from within the forest surrounding him. A monster with a branch in its mouth had discovered Shin Tae-hyun. He panicked at the sight, his eyes widening in fear. The enormous monster crawled toward Shin Tae-hyun, its grotesque face studying him intently. Shin Tae-hyun scrambled to his feet, screaming, Somebody help me! His hands clawed at the ground, his body able only to crawl. And no, I can't die here. The monster crawled after him, drool dripping from its mouth. Shin Tae-hyun's vision began to darken. I haven't even repaid my parents. The monster simply reached out, and snatched Shin Taehyun up. It opened its jaws wide, ready to devour him. Shin Taehyun was completely helpless. He could only scream internally, "No! God!" His face was pale with terror. He prayed continuously in his heart, "If you really exist, please save me. Just save me. I will offer my life and my fate." He closed his eyes, praying earnestly. At that moment, a stream of magic shot towards the monster. The magic hit the arm that was holding Shinchang, causing him to fall towards the monster's mouth. A figure darted forward, catching Shinchang just in time. The monster's arm was severed. Shinchang was safely lowered to the ground by Wu Jin. The protagonist softly asked, "Are you alright?" Shinchang looked at the protagonist's face in a daze. "Are you an AI?" Yu Ji Hyuk quickly replied, "I'm an awakened, Yu Ji Hyuk. I'm here to save you." Yu Ji Hyuk rushed over to Han and asked, "What's the situation? Are you alright?" But Shin Tae-beom's condition isn't good. His left thigh is inflamed after that last attack, causing Tae-beom to wince. The pain was so intense that even Ji Hyuk exclaimed, "Oh, that wound looks serious." He then extended his hand forward. Immediately, a green aura emanated from his palm. Gently, blessings of heaven descend. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding air was suddenly enveloped in a green smoke, forming the image of two angels, each holding a censer and chanting a healing hymn. Miraculously, as the hymn was sung, the wound on Shin Tae-pung's thigh had vanished without a trace. Perfect, unblemished. Finished, Hyun-chin asked, "Can you walk now?" Tae-pung gently moved his leg, marveling at the rapid recovery. "Yes, I can move my leg. Thank you." Reassured by the answer, Hyun-chin relaxed. Hyun-chin extended a hand and offered, "If you follow me, you'll reach ISO station." Suddenly, Jinwoo woke up and noticed something. His eyes widened, his face filled with terror. He yelled, "Behind you! I can't believe that monster from before could regenerate." It took advantage of their distraction, attempting to attack from behind. Opening its maw full of sharp fangs, the monster's eyes glowed red. But before anything could happen, Eren suddenly appeared. Like a guardian angel, he grabbed its tail, immobilizing it completely. It could only helplessly watch its prey escape. The monster turned to look at Eren, who was firmly holding its tail. It couldn't do a thing. Wu Jin, with a cold expression, turned and commanded, "Get lost." Eren received the signal and nodded slightly. Immediately, he gripped the tail tightly with both hands, lifting the monster into the air, and replied, "Eren understands." The massive monster was flung high into the air by the robot. It roared in defiance, only to be slammed back down into the ground. The impact shook the ground violently. Shin Tae witnessed it all with his own eyes. Both of them stood frozen, seemingly horrified by the sight before them. Hyunwoo, Yu-chan reached out a hand in reminder. "I still have to save the others. So let's hurry up and go." In another part of the city, after the chaotic incident, the area had been cordoned off by security forces. At the same time, an announcement was made. "Attention everyone, this is a dangerous area. Please do not approach." However, two people ignored the danger, bypassing the barriers and entering inside. "Excuse me," Jung and Soo shouted urgently. "The scene is secured, so please do not enter without permission." A man in a suit approached and introduced himself. "I am Choi Dae-ho, Seoul by branch, and also the field team leader." He surveyed the scene, sensing the danger, and frowned slightly. "Have you identified what's inside yet?" Recognizing Kadeho's status, Yoon Min-seo immediately bowed respectfully at a 90-degree angle. "Oh, it's an honor to meet you." Dae-ho didn't understand the purpose of this action. "What are you doing?" Yoon Min-soo replied with a fawning expression. "I just wanted to express my delight." Kim Ji-jun appeared behind him. "We're securing the scene. I saw some crazy awakened person rush in there." Choi Dae-ho clutched his head, his face a mask of speechless frustration. Then he asked the two, when he rushed into the gate, "What were you two doing?" The two of them, a retort. "We wait for backup? What if we die? What if the monster in that space gets out?" Dae-ho continued, "Has any monster come out yet?" Yoon Mitsushi Pishli scratched the back of his head, stammering, "Well, not yet." But this only fueled Dae-ho's frustration at their irresponsibility. Didn't they think they should rush in to help that awakened and the ordinary citizen? Had they forgotten the duty of an awakened? When unexpected accidents occur, the awakened bear a tremendous responsibility. Have you forgotten that? His words left the two men speechless, unable to refute or justify their actions. Leon Su steps forward. I don't want to waste words, Captain. Perhaps. We don't have time to play games with them. Daeho agrees. Indeed. No more talking. She throws off her jacket. Behind her, Daeho prepares to enter. Let's go in. Back in the forest, a drone activates and scouts the surrounding area. Through the monitor, they can see everything around them. The image shows a young man surrounded by a three-eyed monster. That's the last survivor. As soon as the location is confirmed, a flash of light appears. Wu Jin leaps from the bushes to attack. His hand glows brightly. Hyuk! Wu Jin groaned, a pained whisper, then shot out like an arrow, acid toward the monster, enraging it, making it leap forward. Wu Jin stepped in front of the survivor, shielding her. A sudden pain made him grit his teeth, but he wouldn't give up. This was the side effect of using spells repeatedly, a throbbing headache, but he had to endure. Suddenly, strange sounds came from behind the bushes. Unexpectedly, another monster approached. The situation was getting more and more difficult. The monster clenched its fist and raised it. Wu Jin was already prepared. He scooped the girl into his arms and jumped out of the way. They narrowly escaped, but they were still trapped. A monstrous hand suddenly emerged from the fog. Where it touched down, the ground instantly cratered into a deep pit. Hyunwoo, hurry. Retreat is the best option. Just hold on a little longer. The woman behind him saw the monster's hand approaching. Awaken. Behind you, Hyunwoo. Use strengthen quickly. He dropped to one knee. Just as the monster's claws were about to reach him, Hyunwoo leaped high into the air. The ground beneath him cracked. Hyunwoo didn't stop his assault, unleashing a flurry of attacks in midair. There's no escape from this barrage. The monster was caught off guard as Hyunwoo rapidly fired net arrows. Instantly, the monster was entangled in the thick ropes. Hyunwoo gently landed on the ground and walked back. He raised his hand high. Immediately, a golden light radiated from his hand, the embodiment of hellfire. He shouted fireball on Choi Daeho and Lee Yunsu's side. They had also reached the forest. Both were searching for survivors around. Choi Daeho and Lee Yunsu finally made it through to the other side of the gate. As soon as they stepped through the forest, it appeared before their eyes. In the distance, they could even see a flicker of fire. Suddenly, strange noises came from the surrounding bushes, putting both of them on high alert. Who's there? Aaron unexpectedly emerged from the bushes. Choi Daeho stepped back, his face full of suspicion. Just then, another guy came out from behind Aaron, looking anxious. Why you're here? He saw Choi Daeho and Leon. Seong-su, as if seeing a lifeline, cried out joyfully. Look, Bigot's special agents. The survivors ran towards them. Some even knelt down, weeping with joy. We're saved. Choi Daeho looked at them, guessing they were the ones who fell into Burag Swamp. But what confused them even more was the robot standing before them. What about that Olam? Definitely not an awakened. How can an Olam be created? Suddenly, AlphaGo spoke. Through wide area scan. Confirmed as Queen's special agent. Mission complete. Returning to Master. Leon. Seong-su was confused when the robot mentioned Leon. Boss? Aaron raised his hand in response. My boss is Paduji Woojin. Choi Daeho immediately recognized the familiar name. Yunsu. Paduji Woojin, isn't that the magic user? Yunsu turned around to answer. He's an awakened, skilled in both magic and bomb making. Her answer startled Daeho. The intel from Q is far less than I imagined. Someone with such extraordinary abilities. Not on record. He immediately ordered. Yunsu, first. Get everyone out of here. Hearing that, she replied. Understood. With that, he ran off. I'll see you later. He ventured deeper into the forest alone. But when he arrived, Daeho froze at the sight before him. A gaping hole suddenly appears in the path ahead, surrounded by the corpses of two monsters. Daeho is bewildered, unsure of what just happened. But one thing's for sure. Whoever did this is incredibly powerful. He approaches the monster corpses to examine them. These are hellhounds. Level 3 monsters with high endurance. For a monster like this to be incinerated to this extent. Not only that, when he touches a monster, a strange, transparent liquid from something that was fired around here. Suddenly Hyuk appears, asking, who's there? Daeho politely replies, are you Park Hyuk, the surviving player? The woman behind him is about to speak, but Hyuk quickly cuts her off. He's not a player. He's already left. Wu Jin intentionally misrepresented the truth, concealing his true identity. Daeho introduced himself. I'm Choi Daeho from the Seoul branch of the MI. On behalf of everyone in the organization, thank you. And with that, the Albert incident in Gaisu is concluded, without any casualties or damage. However, that night, the Albert incident made headlines on the SNE's news channel, especially the interview with Choi Daeho, level 55, went viral. Daeho stood before the media, expressing his gratitude. Mr. Poodle, Wu Jin is a shining example, demonstrating the great responsibility that awakened individuals bear. He entered the gate when the Albert incident occurred without a moment's hesitation. His only thought was to save everyone. Exiting. At the same time, someone else was watching Choi Daeho's interview. Rank 55, the Albert incident. All 10 civilians involved returned safely. They were all grateful for the actions of Park Do-hyuk and Sung Jinwoo. A glance at the screen explained the story. Jinwoo was wearing a cloak, preparing to enter the gate. Is this why you've been gone? A bad feeling washed over Jinwoo. The Albert incident was completely coincidental. There were other things too. Before the Albert incident, I succeeded with a 3rd level spell. It was the 3rd level fireball spell, and I created 4 fireballs that damaged the enemy. The 3rd level spell caused the target's movement speed to rapidly increase. But as a result, their intelligence decreased. In the end, the infernal demon was shattered. You also received many valuable treasures, such as you were also given several other precious artifacts. For example, the magic tier truth or false detector, which has the ability to discern whether a person's words are true or false. With 2 judgment opportunities per day, it can accurately distinguish. There's also the magic tier passion perfume, which increases Halgan likability with others 5-fold. During interactions, it can increase the other party's satisfaction by 5 times. And the special tier ring of light, which can increase IQ by 100 points, luck by 50 points, and magic resistance by 50 points. It can also store up to 50 units of magic power by absorbing ambient light for use when needed. He thought to himself, I've obtained so many valuable items, and even achieved the title of 9th level alchemist. Moreover, Ifrit's power increases every day. When Wu Jin went to check on Ifrit, he also upgraded the robot using reinforcement alchemy. Level 1. Skills used will consume 20% less mana, and can now combine with atomic stones below high grade. With the familiar, combined atomic stones will harden the familiar's outer shell, increase magic storage capacity, but affect movement speed. Added 1 spell combination slot. Moments later, the system sent a notification. Attack power increased by 12%, from 100% to 112%. Magic storage capacity increased by 50%, from 1,000 to 1,500, along with outer shell upgrade. But movement speed decreased by 8%, from 100% to 92%. Unfortunately, Ifrit gained an additional spell combination slot. A message popped up, recite the spell. To execute it, Hyuk quickly extends his hand and recites the enhancement command. Immediately, a bright orb is released, enveloping Afin as the fusion process begins. Moments later, the fusion is complete. Hyuk looks at the brand new Afin, now upgraded to a new level. He taps on its armor and praises, your power has increased significantly. He looks at Afin. Thanks to you, Afin. He then makes a vow. I will always be absolutely loyal to my master until my very last breath. Scene change. Sungmin and Hyuk enter the space, when suddenly Sungmin exclaims, damn it, the next monster has appeared. Hyuk calmly replies, I know. Look at the goblin, with its massive body and glowing red eyes, seeing its prey right before its eyes. The monster was ecstatic. A horde of goblins followed close behind, equipped with iron armor. Weapons in hand, they charged fiercely. One charged ahead, leading the way, while Wu Jin supported her attack from behind. Siami, just like we practiced. Siami quickly raised her shield and advanced. Seeing this, the 2 monsters raised their hammers high. Hyujin raised his hand, protecting her, and shouted, Phantom Mire! As soon as he finished speaking, spiderweb-like threads wrapped around the goblin's hands. Seizing the opportunity while they were bound, Siami drew her glowing sword. With swift, graceful movements, she slashed at them, leaving glowing cuts. But the attacks seemed to have no effect. One turned to face her. Around Siami, a purple aura shimmered. The monster shifted its gaze to Hyujin, but in his eyes, there was only a chilling coldness. Sumin yelled, "Die," to get their attention. Wu Jin complimented her, since their situation wasn't looking good. Directly attacking the Iron Chest Demon would be suicide. Therefore, there's no point wasting energy on the weaker ones. Good thinking, Sumin. He called out, Sumin. She got the signal, replying, "Let's do it." Wu Jin attacked first. Hellfire embodiment. As soon as he finished speaking, a barrage of fireballs came from behind, completely catching the monsters off guard. The resulting explosion shook the earth, engulfing the monsters in flames. Wu Jin couldn't see clearly inside. His expression was worried. Is Sumin all right? A figure suddenly emerged from the fog. Sumi quickly raised her shield, charging forward. Seeing she was safe, Wu Jin breathed a sigh of relief. Good. But then he suddenly noticed something and urgently warned Sumi, "Look out, behind you." A figure was lurking close behind Sumi. Before Sumi could react, the monster attacked, but luckily, she managed to block it with her shield. But the impact was too strong, sending her flying. Wu Jin panicked. Sumi, lying amidst the fallen rocks, Sumi reported, "I am okay, but it's about to break through the spell. Be careful." Flames engulfed the monster was still full of energy. It dragged its axe along the ground, step by step, towards Hyuk. After a while, it leaped onto his back, but the monster stomped its foot, and the ground crumbled beneath it. Hyuk remained calm, thinking of a counterattack. Is there no way to crush its windpipe? With a single attack? He reached back, creating a fireball, silently waiting for the monster to approach. Playing with fire is fine, but what if there's another one? Just like that last one? The fireball attack wave. He had an idea. If he compressed the fireball, maybe it could pierce that weak armor. Without hesitation, Hyuk acted. He used his speed enhancement to teleport. As soon as he finished speaking, Hyuk dashed forward like a lightning bolt. Sumi, frightened, reached out to stop him. Hey! But Hyuk wouldn't be deterred. Trust me. The moment the orb touched the monster's armor, it pierced straight through, obliterating the creature. Outside, Hyuk controlled a drone, surveying the surroundings. Back in the cave, Hyuk and Sumi, she finally spoke. That was so dangerous. Hyuk echoed her concern. Is that all you want to say? I was worried you'd get hurt. Sumi was still irritated. I can protect myself. I'm a tank. This is nothing. As she spoke, her voice softened. But you could have been in danger doing that. An awkward silence fell between them. Jun gently placed her hand on Wu Jin's head and patted it. Thanks for worrying about me. But I never do anything recklessly. I calculated carefully before trying to handle it. Actually, Sunji was terrified when she thought about that moment. For a moment, she was afraid that she would lose a partner. I am sorry. Understanding Sunji's feelings, Wu Jin tried to comfort her. I understand. From now on, I'll try to be more careful. He looked up at the drone, hovering in the sky. After a while, he approached her and said, Siami, you should rest here for a bit. Siami? Where are you going? When Wu Jin didn't answer immediately, you don't want Siami in any danger. Leave everything to me. Just in case, like last time, I prepared a drone. It'll detect anything suspicious immediately. But that stubborn girl? You mean she's coming too? Despite that, he refused. No, if you're afraid of danger, I'll come back right away. Until the next boss fight. We won't have time to rest. He instructed her. I'll have the drone scout the area. You just rest. Siami had no choice but to obey. Okay, be careful. Yeah. Wu Jin said goodbye and started to head deeper into the cave. He followed the path forward until he reached the gate. Is this the place? Wu Jin walked around, examining his surroundings. I've never seen this on any map I know. There wasn't a single trace of light inside. Wu Jin could only reach out and touch the stone walls to find his way. He discovered that the rocks formed an artificial structure. There must be a reason for this. Suddenly, a strange feeling emanated from behind him, startling him. A moment later, the scenery had changed. Wu Jin stood on a deserted road. Not a soul in sight. A massive castle loomed ahead. Fog blanketed the entire path. Below flowed a river as red as blood. He looked around, trying to get his bearings. Where in the world is this? A worldly figure emerged from the mist. Hyunwoo couldn't believe his eyes. He stared at the old man before him, with long, silver hair cascading down to his shoulders, a deep crimson robe, and a reddish-brown staff, emitting a magical blue light. Did he just know that was Bienwu? Stroking his beard, Bienwu was taken aback by Heinwa's words. "You're the first to call me by my name." "To my face?" he questioned. "How do you know my name?" Hyunwoo was still in shock, his eyes wide. "How can an NPC who used to stay here?" Recovering quickly, he answered. "Because in a game that existed in my world, there was a character who also appeared in an amusement park. Like you." Hearing this for the first time, Bienwu seemed convinced. "To think there's someone like me in a place like Sao, it's truly a miracle." "Hyung," Wu Jin continued, "this world feels like a dream to me too." Vorth suddenly interrupted. "A dream?" Many outsiders who came to this Sao have said the same. He didn't understand what the old man was implying. Outsiders? Outsiders in Sao? Vorth slowly explained. "Those who were trapped in the dimensional crack and survived, like you. Those who don't belong to our world." He also introduced the place where they were standing. "And this place is the trial, specifically made for outsiders. This place will unlock your hidden potential and confirm your abilities." Wu Jin wondered, if this is a trial, then the outsiders who came before already taken this test before? The old man also shared a piece of information. No one has ever passed it. Many have been defeated. At the very end, he made an offer. "Why don't you give it a try? This test is for those who seek a valuable reward and teaches those who fail humility about their abilities. In other words, it doesn't matter where this is. If you pass this test and reach a higher place," Wu Jin naturally wouldn't refuse. "Yes, please guide me." He was eager. The test was simple. Reach that tower over there and survive. Of course, on the way there will be many traps, constantly moving objects, unidentified monsters, and finally, a giant black lion guarding the tower. Whether you kill it or not, or escape it to enter the tower, either way is fine. You have a total of 5 attempts to pass the trial. Attempts remaining 5. Our protagonist is relentlessly attacking, trying to overcome the challenge. Attempts remaining 4. Attempts remaining 3. He's continuously defeated. Attempts remaining 2. Every time, Wu Jin is taken down by the giant black lion. Final attempt remaining 1. He's panting heavily, shivering at the memory of the monster. "I can't believe how real it was, making me feel the agonizing pain of being crushed." Wu Jin was still terrified. "Can I overcome this trial?" His face paled slightly. "Although I know how to get rid of the traps and monsters ahead, that black lion is truly formidable. I'm not strong enough to defeat it alone." Vorth spoke beside him. "Hey, stranger." Wu Jin replied with a yes. The man continued, "Don't be afraid to try a new challenge." Wu Jin was surprised. "Then, what do you mean?" He continued, "I can't tell you what it is." He couldn't help but think, a new challenge? His words made Wu Jin contemplate. Could there be another challenge on this path? This path is exactly the same as before. He looked at the path ahead. Deadly abysses on both sides. What about behind me? Juhyuk couldn't help but turn around, looking behind him. Then he suddenly noticed something. Why is there a wall there? Juhyuk stared at the blank wall. Beyond the magic tower, there's only a deadly abyss. Juhyuk began to think. But behind the starting line, there's a wall, not an abyss. He smiled faintly, realizing his intention. I suddenly remembered the main character in a movie that I really loved. Someone who could make the impossible possible. Juhyuk turned around and took a step back. I want to do that too. Juhyuk smiled and said, I'm going. He fell silent. He immediately rushed towards the wall. Don't be afraid of new challenges. His words echoed in Doha's mind. Doha gritted his teeth and yelled, blink. In an instant, Doha charged towards the wall, smashing through it. He then saw a tower ahead. It was Verhard. He saw a reflection, like on the other side of the wall. Couldn't he see him? Was this the gate to another dimension? He kept running forward. He remained silent, calm. But on this side, the lion seemed to sense something and abruptly stood up. Doha rushed forward, worried. Could he get past this lion? But the lion suddenly roared and charged towards Yuji Hayek. Yuji Hayek realized then that it had sensed his presence. Yuji Hayek immediately activated his skill, Sleeping Death. Yuji Hayek attacked it head-on. Something shattered. Then Yuji Hayek activated Fate. Unable to see, the monster immediately slowed down. He seized the opportunity, jumped, and ran straight ahead. Immediately, the system announced, you have passed Verdandy's test. Soon after, in a hazy consciousness, Yu Ji-hyuk opened his eyes and looked at the sky. He sat up and asked, "How did the trial go?" The man who had been beside Yu Ji-hyuk said, "You passed, don't worry." He continued, "You were the first to pass my test. You broke the mold and passed the trial with flying colors. I am very pleased." Ju Hyuk smiled and shook his hand. "Thank you. No, it's thanks to your advice that I was able to broaden my perspective." He smiled. "That was just common advice that I give to other outsiders. Anyway, you passed the test, so I should congratulate you, shouldn't I?" He said, "What do you want to bring with you the most?" Ju Hyuk immediately offered, "This ring. This is the ring of trust and hope. A special great item. Increases intelligence by 100, luck by 50, and magic resistance by 50. It would help Ju Hyuk shine brightly. It can integrate 50 spells, usable when needed." He then said, "I will use a god's blessing to enhance that ring by 1 rank. If it gains a new attribute, it'll be yours, right? It's beneficial even if it belongs to you, but consider it a bestowed blessing." Do-hyun asked, "What's the effect of the blessing?" He replied, "That blessing will allow you to cast spells without chanting. Do you want it?" He replied excitedly, "Of course, this is the best reward for me." Satisfied, he said, "I understand." He began chanting into the ring. A magic circle appeared. This was Birth's magic. Do-hyun suddenly felt a warm light, and then the ring gradually transformed. Special characters appeared around it, changing from yellow to purple. Its power had increased multiple times. At that moment, the ring's information appeared, completely and in detail. The special grade ring of faith and hope. Intelligence increased by 250. Magic increased by 500. Luck increased by 125. Magic resistance increased by 125. Every second, magic power regenerates twice. Using surrounding light, it can integrate 50 spells. Can be used when needed while God's blessing is in effect. Allows the user to cast spells without incantations. Holding the ring in his palm, he couldn't help but excitedly think, "This is my first legendary ring." At that moment, Maquette asked, "Do-hyun, what do you think? Are you satisfied with this reward?" Hearing that, he laughed cheerfully and replied, "I'm not just satisfied. This reward is truly special." Seeing that, he gave a gentle smile and praised him. "Very well," he continued, "then it's time for me to send you back." Do-hyuk asked with a hint of regret, "Are we parting ways here?" The god replied in a low voice, "I'm not sure. Perhaps one day my world will connect with yours. If so, we will meet again." Do-hyuk smiled and replied, "Indeed." He thought to himself, "I was so focused on training that I didn't get to talk to him much." Do-hyuk suddenly remembered that he had forgotten to ask something. Turned to Yu-hyun. Woo-jin asked, "Come to think of it, I don't know your name. What is it?" Hearing this, he cheerfully replied, "It's Yu-hyun." As he spoke, his figure gradually disappeared. The teleportation matrix had taken Yu-hyun away. Only Vahan remained. Thinking back on their chance encounter, he sighed with emotion. "Yu-hyun, I will definitely remember that name. Safe travels. I haven't had this much fun in a long time." Yu-hyun asked suspiciously, "So, you were only gone for 30 minutes? I thought you'd be gone longer, so I went looking and saw you come out of a distorted space." Sumi, who was fighting monsters at the time, also replied, "Yes, I'm glad you're okay." Suddenly, a monster from behind seemed to be attempting a sneak attack on her. But Sumi's reflexes were lightning fast. In the blink of an eye, she neutralized its attack. Simultaneously, she launched a counterattack against the monsters. Ju-hyuk's golem appeared at that moment. There were noticeable changes in its form. Immediately after, it unleashed an attack. A mound of earth and rocks piled up. Witnessing this power, Sumi thought to herself, "His golem, it looks a bit different from last time, doesn't it? Is it stronger?" Ju-hyuk suddenly shouted, "Look out!" He frowned and said sternly, "Fireball." Immediately after, within his palm, a bright, fiery orb appeared. Ju-hyuk shouted again, "Acid arrow!" A stream of blue liquid materialized in his hand. Ju-hee and Woo-jin yelled in unison, "Magic missile!" Blue circles surrounded him once again. 3 streams of energy hurtled towards the monster. A tremendously powerful explosion erupted. Sungi used her shield to block the blast. She gritted her teeth, holding the shield firmly to withstand the force of the explosion. The dust and smoke slowly cleared. The monster in front of Sung-hee was completely battered. It collapsed before her. Sung-hee was left pondering what had just transpired. She thought to herself, my power remains the same, but his incantations are much stronger than before. He doesn't even need to chant anymore. Ju-hee and Woo-jin, having defeated the monster, were approaching her. Seeing Sumi staring at him, he was a little surprised. At the same time, Sumi's mind was filled with mixed emotions. She wondered what had happened to him. In the past 30 minutes, Do-hyun finally spoke up. Good. Then let's continue. The next day, at the Chungcheong building, holding the paper in his hand, Do-hyun recalled the events that had transpired. He couldn't help but exclaim, the blacksmith met his wife, sang a song, and even got a legendary grade ring. Not a bad strategy, huh? And I even got the missile spell. Missile launched. Missile heading forward. Just then, a figure appeared before him. She sat down in the chair opposite him and asked, how are you and Song-mi doing these days? The report said you two attacked a C+ rank dungeon. Hearing that, Woo-jin smiled brightly and replied, I'm very satisfied. Pay attention to the dealer's position and strengthen your power. And everyone trusts us too. Baek-do, he was also happy for him and continued, fortunately, Sumi seems to be motivated and enthusiastic. She even practices diligently on her days off. It would be better if she rested a bit. Baek-do, he gently advised. Anyway, please keep an eye on Sumi for me. Remembering Sumi's appearance, she continued, she might seem a bit rough because of her family situation, but she's actually very kind. Hearing that, Woo-jin politely replied, I'm the one who should be thanking you for pairing me and Sumi together. Baek-do, he smiled and continued, so, let's leave our recent conversation at that. What did you contact me to talk about? Ju-hee and Woo-jin frowned and replied, I want Young-sung to sell this for me. Intrigued, Baek-ju-hee asked, what is it? Ju-hee and Woo-jin pulled out the scroll they were carrying and said, this. Looking at the item in his hand, Baek-ju-hee was taken aback. She carefully examined it. Is this the identification spell scroll? She asked again in astonishment. Seeking confirmation. Identify. What does it mean? Ju-hee and Woo-jin confirmed, knowing its true nature. It means it can reveal the hidden potential of an object. For example, Ju-hee and Woo-jin turned to look in a certain direction, but Baek-ju-hee quickly interrupted. Wait! Baek-ju-hee, realizing the item's immense value, smiled and said, this is incredibly useful. There's a very useful sword on my desk. The bacon sword, one of my favorite items to use. Immediately after, to verify, the information on the sword was displayed fully and in detail. Special grade bacon sword. Strength increased by 150%. Agility increased by 150%. Evasion increased by 10%. Effect. The latent power of the bacon sword makes it lighter. Ju-hyuk asked curiously, you know its options well, don't you? She softly replied, this is a sword I used a long time ago, so I remember it clearly. Ju-hyuk unfolded a scroll and chuckled. Then let me show you the power of this enchanted scroll. He tore it in half. A light emanated from the scroll. Do-hee-woo firmly held the sword in his hand. The light emitting from the sword was identifying the weapon. Do-hee-woo took the sword, looked it over, and smiled. All right, take a look. Baek-do-hee received the sword. She slowly drew the sword. For a moment, her eyes widened in surprise. Do-hee-woo continued. Could be an option, right? Information about the white-silver sword appeared. Special grade white-silver sword. Strength increased by 150. Agility increased by 150. Stamina increased by 10%. Efficiency increased by 5%. The hidden power of the white-silver sword makes it lighter. Do-hee-woo calmly said with a smile. That's appraisal. Discovering the hidden power of an item. Appraisal, because back when I played DNF, all items are in an unidentifiable state. Almost every user uses this. It's the first item identification spell. But right now on Earth, there are still many unidentified objects. No job can identify unidentified internal information. Before I became a spell user, Baek-do-hee appraised, I had already become the 15th awakened. As a guild leader, I've met many awakened people with abilities. Baek-do-hee held her sword firmly, looking at Woo-jin. His calm demeanor, his confidence made her contemplate. Baek-do-hee thought to herself, but I've never met anyone with an ability like his. Woo-jin smiled and said, what do you think? Hearing that, Baek-do-hee cleared her throat and said, hold on, let me think about it. Baek Do-hee pressed her fingers to her forehead, lost in thought. This is an irreplaceable item. Something only Do-hee and Woo-jin can make. After a moment, Baek Do-hee picked up the talisman scroll and asked directly, so, each day, how many of these can you make? Woo-jin gave her a number. 120 scrolls. That's the maximum I can do. He continued, and I require that Chongseong Guild has exclusive distribution rights. The starting price is 20 million won. We'll gauge the market reaction and adjust the price accordingly. Baek Do-hee hesitated slightly, so, just give me 10% of the net profit, and I'll handle all sales and distribution. What do you think? Woo-jin agreed without hesitation. Sounds good, let's do it. Baek Do-hee still had something to say, but this appraisal scroll will have a huge social impact. Woo-jin is looking forward to it too. He replied cheerfully. I'm also looking forward to seeing how it turns out. 5 days later, the appearance of the appraisal scroll completely changed the Awaken's perception of items. Awaken News, 24 hours. Chongseong Guild launches a new exclusive product. Following the success of 3 types of item bombs capable of upgrading items from pure to rare, the item that causes items to level up and transform abilities spreads the idea that one can aim for the highest peak. Market prices begin to increase exponentially. Therefore, the press and media are focusing all their attention on the manufacturer of the appraisal scroll, Mr. Do-hyuk. Many broadcasting stations have invited Do-hyuk as a guest. They invited him, and he even has his own fan cafe. Inside the office, Youngmi carefully monitored the progress. Immediately afterward, she gave instructions to her subordinate. Daeho, it's been 5 days since the identification scrolls went on sale, right? He replied, yes, that's correct. Daeho held a coffee cup in his hand and continued his report. The first day's trading price was 20 million won, and now it's up to 33 million won. Baek Do-hee said softly, thank you. Choi Daeho looked at her and said pensively, perhaps even I wouldn't. It's hard to believe that, in just a few days, an Awakened could change their standing so drastically. Do Young-min agreed. I think so too. Choi Daeho frowned and continued. Moreover, if news of the identification scroll maker gets out and spreads to other countries, they'll definitely take action. We need to act as well. Before that happens, Do Jae-mi spoke seriously. I heard Leon, so, is an acquaintance of you, Ji Hyuk. She then reminded them, Daeho, contact Leon so, and arrange a meeting with Ji Hyuk. Choi Daeho immediately followed her instructions. Yes, I'll do it right away. As if anticipating this, Ji Hyuk was lost in thought. Looking at his phone screen, he thought to himself, my influence on the Awakened has grown significantly. I'm developing steadily now, but I want to accelerate this process. I need to operate on a larger scale. Therefore, my goal in creating the scroll is to gain access to national agencies and organizations. Meanwhile, at the Seoul branch of the KPI headquarters, Mr. Woo-jin, have you been waiting long? A sharply dressed Leon greeted him warmly. Seeing that it was Leon, Woo-jin happily set his phone aside and politely said, no, I just arrived. Woo-jin thought to himself, could KPI be the first organization to contact me? Curious, Leon asked Woo-jin, is this your first time at the KPI Seoul branch? Ju-hyuk walked past. Seeing everyone busy working, he whispered, yes, it is. Everyone looks so busy. Leon then replied, because we have to manage the dungeons, guilds, and Awakened. We're so busy we barely have any days off. Hearing that, Ju-hyuk simply said, ah. Leon walked ahead and opened a door, saying, Mr. Ju-hyuk, please come in. Then Leon carefully knocked and said, Branch Chief, it's Leon. I brought Mr. Ju-hyuk. Hearing that, she replied, yes, please come in. Looking at the person before him, Ju-hyuk carefully assessed her in his mind. It was the KBI Seoul branch chief. She then greeted him cheerfully. Sorry for calling you all the way here, but it would draw too much attention if I went to see you, so, after that, Yumi introduced herself to Do-hyuk. I'm the branch manager of KPI Seoul. Yumi. She faced the 2 people in front of her. Do-hyuk thought to himself, these are Korea's S-rank Awakened. They're really intimidating. Yumi spoke first. She directly asked Do-hyuk, I'll get straight to the point. Do-hyuk calmly replied, yes. Getting straight to the point would be better. Yumi smiled approvingly. Good then, we believe, Mr. Do-hyuk, that you have the potential to become Korea's next representative. Yumi's words surprised Do-hyuk. he asked, a bit flustered. Potential, Yumi explained. Yes, Mr. Do-hyun creates attack spells, defense spells, and paper golems. He's not like other awakened, who are only strong in one area. He has all kinds of abilities. Du Jangmi came to a conclusion. KPI only has one thing to say to an awakened person like that. Do-hyun is truly. Are they trying to pressure me? I want to get closer to KPI. But the more they pressure me, the harder it will be to compromise. Du Jangmi continued with the proposal. Starting with attacking KPI's dungeons, we will provide full support in many areas. Do-hyun. Yes. Do-hyun pondered. So they'll support me, not pressure me? That's surprising. Do-hyuk asked curiously. Is there a reason why everyone decided this? Choi Dae-ho calmly replied. The KPA usually supports those with potential from the start to prevent the country's talent from falling into the hands of others. Furthermore, the KPA is an organization established to ensure the safety of the people and the country, as well as maintain order among the awakened. Choi Dae-ho added, we don't care about the benefits we gain from supporting you. Do-hyuk was lost in thought for a moment. After a while, he replied, I understand. Do-hyuk said seriously, I'll accept the KPA's help. Do-hyuk said cheerfully, yes, I understand. Do-hyuk said seriously, I'll accept the KPA's help. He replied warmly, thanks to everyone. But before he could finish, a sudden tremor made Joo-hyuk's eyes white. The shaking continued, growing more intense, startling both Yang-mi and Choi Dae-ho. Joo-hyuk asked suspiciously, whoa, what was that? Suddenly, Joo-hyuk seemed to notice something. He glanced in one direction. A bright gold light suddenly appeared, also catching the attention of Yang-mi and Choi Dae-ho. Joo-hyuk pointed. Look over there. Yang-mi followed his gaze. A beam of light shot down from the sky, illuminating a specific area. An anomaly amidst the rows of buildings. A surprised Yang-mi said, that, could it be? Seeing her reaction, Joo-hyuk asked curiously, do you know what that is? A moment of silence hung in the air. Yang-mi frowned and replied, that's a large-scale explosion. Just then, a public announcement blared from a loudspeaker. KMA Safety Instructions broadcast. In total, there have been 78 large explosions in Seoul. Citizens are advised to evacuate to the nearest shelter. Those who are still conscious, please gather at the nearest residential area. Inside a car, speeding down the highway, Leon worriedly reported. 5 years ago, a large explosion also occurred in Gangwon province. There were only about 30 to 40 people then, so there were few casualties. This time, there are 78 locations, so I'm quite worried. Yuchan hesitantly asked, can I go with the S-rank soldiers? Choi Dae-ho immediately turned around and replied, since we can choose those who are unaffected. As requested, yes. Lee Seon-ho urgently reported. Explosion detected ahead. Choi Dae-ho quickly gave orders. You Hyuk and I will go first. You follow behind and contact the chief immediately. Lee Seon-ho immediately obeyed. Yes, sir. At that moment, a man was gasping for breath, clutching his injured arm. Each sharp blade glinted menacingly. A terrifying monster's feet were slowly approaching him. A swarm of mantis monsters with razor-sharp pincers surrounded him. The monster's eyes glowed crimson as it brought its pincers close to his neck. He felt that even a slight graze from those blades could end his life. Terror gripped the man. The monster seemed to notice something. Just then a powerful stone hand, lifting its pincers from the man's neck. Glem appeared from behind, assisting him against the monster. The monster seemed surprised. Glem's eyes suddenly glowed. Immediately after, his hand emitted a brilliant golden light. At the same time, Glem carefully protected the injured man. A brilliant golden power emanated from Glem's hand. The rescued man weakly said, thank you. A sudden blue light appeared in front of Glem. It pierced through, defeating the monster. Golem also assisted, firing projectiles at it. The monster became enraged. It attacked Glem with its sharp claws and fangs. On the other side, a man was rushing forward. He yelled to his teammate, confirm position. In a flash, a beam of light descended from the sky. The monstrous building remained oblivious. The beam struck a direct path downwards. The monster was instantly obliterated. The surrounding ground crumbled. A testament to the sheer force of the attack. The fist still glowed with residual energy. The man retracted his power. He adjusted his attire and weapon. Olam's voice confirmed the victim's status. Move the person to safety. Witnessing this, Choi Daeho couldn't help but exclaim, "Every time I see Yu Ji Hyuk's golem, I'm just amazed." Suddenly, a voice echoed in his ear, "Choi Daeho." Meanwhile, Yu Ji Hyuk was engaged in a fierce battle. Through his earpiece, Yu Ji Hyuk communicated with the person on the other side. He asked sternly, "There's no more life signs detected over there. Just follow the drone. From now on." The other side responded, "Yes, I understand." Du Yami cautiously added, "Daeho, you didn't destroy that building, did you?" "Later, I'll confirm it with Jiowe's video footage." Cho Daeho, flustered at being called out, replied. By now, Du Yami had finished off the monsters. She cautiously scanned her surroundings. Suddenly, Du Yami noticed something. The spider monsters were spinning strange webs. A voice echoed in her ear. "Yangmi, there are multiple survivor signals inside the building." Du Yangmi calmly replied, "Understood." She ripped off her fur coat, resolutely saying, "We have to hurry." Immediately, the spiders began to swarm. Lunging at her, they continuously emitted creepy screech sounds. Seeing Yangmi standing still, not fighting back, her eyes suddenly turned blood red. Her hair also turned completely white. Jamie transformed her body, tendrils appearing behind her back. A group of spider monsters were immediately thrown back. Yangmi, as quick as lightning, flickered in and out, from one monster to another, each one falling before her. Golden threads of light intricately intertwined. Unflinching Yangmi annihilated the entire group of monsters. The golden threads tightly bound the spiders. Immediately after, a massive surge of energy erupted, causing the spiders to vanish. A terrifying explosion occurred, annihilating the entire swarm of spider demons. As Zombie casually emerged from the battle, she coldly spoke into the communicator. "Please guide me." Within a stretch of dilapidated buildings, billowing black smoke ascended. The two siblings of the Thea Guild, Kang Seo-jun and Julia, were sitting close together, watching the spectacle. Kang Seo-jun said with a smile, "This is quite a rare sight, isn't it?" Julia smiled back, "It is. Many names are being called. Our Daeho is one of them." At that moment, Choi Daeho was alone, confronting a gigantic monster. He channeled his ability into his palm. A powerful light pierced through the monster. Julia remained calm, remarking, "He's still as hot as ever." Kang Seo-jun spoke with interest. "Honey, look over there. Isn't that Baekdu?" Julia glanced at the two people below and said, "Yes, it is. It's hard to see clearly, but Yumina seems to be injured." The wound on Yumina's abdomen had darkened. Kang Seo-jun looked over and chuckled. "If she dies like that, it would be quite convenient for us." Julia then noticed something in a different direction. Woojin was also approaching their group. Julia said curiously, "Isn't that Woojin?" Hearing this, Kang Seo-jun glanced over. "What? Woojin's here too?" A thought flashed through his mind. "Let's recruit Woojin," Kang Seo-jun excitedly said. "That's why we're here. So, let's see what he's capable of." Meanwhile, the others were channeling their magical energy to heal the injured. A pure blue light enveloped the injured person, healing him. Lee Mina's wounds were enveloped by the pure light, gradually showing improvement. Baek Do-hee, seeing this, exclaimed, "Whoa, that's some powerful healing. I didn't know you had such healing abilities." Woojin said with a smile, "It consumes a lot of magical power, so I can't use it frequently." Baek Do-hee continued seriously, "Even so, that's a B-rank healer's recovery skill. Right there." The surrounding people began to marvel and praise. "It actually worked. It's really effective. I'm a C rank, but high rankers are all talk and no action." Ryu Mina, now healed, was able to sit up on her own. She said gratefully, "Thank you, Do-hyuk. I owe you one." Do-hyuk then turned to Baek Do-hee and instructed, "Although the external wounds are healed, the poison still lingers in your body, so leave quickly." Baek Do-hee, for her part, agreed with him. "Yes, that's a good idea. I'll leave the rest to you then." With that, she dashed off, leaving Do-hyuk alone. At that moment, a voice rang out in his earpiece. "Do-hyuk, Youngmi and the team are on their way. Carefully observe your surroundings and stay in contact with me through the earpiece. I've found them. The civilians are hiding here." One of them saw a gigantic monster inside the shopping mall. Yumi clarified, "I haven't seen it yet, Hearing that, Dusik's expression turned serious. He thought to himself, could that be the insect monster? Yumi continued speaking through the earpiece, warning Dusik it might be heading in that direction, so please be careful. Hearing this, he cautiously scanned his surroundings. Just then a gigantic monster burst through the stone wall behind Dusik and stepped out. Every movement it made caused a powerful tremor. The gigantic monster charged forward, sending debris raining down. It had the form of a colossal spider, gradually emerging from the thick dust. Kang Seojun, watching from above, was suspicious. Is that a venomous arachnid? He asked. Julia replied, yeah, probably a B to a rank monster. Watching the confrontation between the monster and Yuchan, Julia said haughtily. Surprisingly, he managed to dodge that surprise attack. Kang Seojun frowned, adding, that Yuchan kid, I guess because he became a leader so young. His management of his team members. Isn't that great, huh? Julia continued, looking at the giant monster below. She remarked with a hint of awe. Those guys down there have no idea how powerful that monster is. This will be tough. A furie explosion erupted, instantly erupted around the monster. The other team members, thinking they had defeated it, said triumphantly, see, with this level of firepower, even a bug would be killed instantly. Don't underestimate the power of soul. But Yuchan had a bad feeling. He thought to himself, this is bad. Venomous Hydra can withstand magic attacks. The first attack, well, it has a common fire attribute. The monster stood there unharmed. It bared its fearsome fangs and claws. The other team members panicked. It didn't react. Could it be? It's a bug that can withstand magic? Then the two of them resolutely charged to attack. Let's go hunting. The mages are retreating one by one. Next, the remaining team members put all their effort into defense. But highly poisonous spider threads are shooting towards them. Shield, immediately. A defensive barrier is erected, blocking the monster's attack. The problem is, those spider threads are incredibly corrosive. The barrier instantly vanishes. One team member gets hit, stunned by the impact. He's sent flying. Yuchan carefully dodges the attack. Kang Seojun watches this with a sarcastic smirk. Just one tank in the middle. Can't catch it, can they? She turns to Julia and says, without an amazing team like Go OK, it's impossible to catch it. Julia continues. The spider webs were incredibly fast, taking down their entire team. Observing the situation, Ju Yojung pondered. If we can dodge those attacks and get close to it, we can capture it with a physical attack. Just then, the clicking of high heels approached. She said, you're saying it's weak against physical attacks? Ju Yojung slowly turned around and replied, I can provide support to a certain extent, so you all just need to get close. But before she could finish, a woman with fiery red hair dashed past him. She seriously entrusted Ju Yojung. I'll leave the support to you then, Yojung. The monster, after capturing a team member, was preparing to enjoy its meal. Suddenly, it seemed to sense something and turned its head in one direction. Shin Yuhi gripped her weapon tightly, charging towards the monster and attacking. Spider webs shot out, attempting to ensnare her. Shin Yuhi's eyes hardened with determination. Wielding her weapon, she expertly unleashed a series of attacks, slicing through the monster's webs. Shin Yuhi carefully assessed the monster, part Dusik while observing the duel between Shin Yuhi and the monster, felt a sense of awe. He thought to himself, if that attack could sever its legs, it would be over. But that's if. Shin Yuhi then unleashed a slash, sending the smaller spiders flying into pieces. Yuchan had to admit, after all, however, because there was something important to do, Shin Yuhi immediately channeled mana into her palms and began chanting, armor, shield, strength, speed. An immense amount of mana surrounded Shin Yuhi. Next, 3 streaks of fire shot directly towards the monster. Missile arrows, Par Doha said with a smile. I have to provide accurate support, right? Shin Yuhi, on her side, also channeled her physical strength. A red light appeared, taking care of the smaller spiders. Facing the final boss, both Inwoo and Shin Yuhi had their attacks ready, unleashing 2 streams of power that intersected. Shin Yuhi was no pushover either. The red power gradually condensed into an extremely powerful force. Shin Yuhi's eyes turned sharp. She unleashed her attack decisively. The spider boss monster was split in half by Shin Yuhi. Do Hyuk smiled brightly. Shin Yuhi had also returned. Facing Do Hyuk, she asked with a slight pout, Do Hyuk, don't you remember me? The gas mask was removed, revealing Shin Yuhi's face. She said cheerfully, "It's me, Shin Yuhi." Shin Yuhi approached him and said, "Do Hyuk, long time no see." The main character replied, "Yuhi, are you an Awakened too?" Shin Yuhi said cheerfully, "Yeah, I was active in the Awakened Association in England. A while ago, my contract expired, so I came back to Korea." Suddenly, a loud explosion erupted behind her. "Seems like we don't have time for a leisurely chat, huh?" The main character quickly understood and replied, "Let's deal with the outbreak first." Choi Daeho joined in. Do-hee Woo-jin, I plan to join Branch B. Do Jamie has already made her move. I intend to join soon. Shall we move to a different area now? The protagonist and Shin Yuhi responded, "Yes, I'll join right away. I've received support from this area. After Outspring is over, I'll look for a guild in Seoul." She put on her mask and nodded. Do-hee said, "All right, see you then." Julia tilted her head and asked Kang Seo, "What do you think?" She replied, "Although I don't know the exact power of the spell, but that attack speed and buff definitely isn't like that of ordinary Awakened, and his current recovery ability." Kang Seo Jun stood up. She focused on observing the main character. First, observe a little more. 3 days ago, the large-scale outbreak had been completely suppressed. Dr. Yujung's stats had also changed a lot. He sat in the meeting room and reviewed them. "My level has increased a lot thanks to this battle. The secretive plotter is already level 31 and finally reached level 4. Also, the spell received from the Demon King." He opened the spell's information. "However, it seems these spells can't be purchased through donations on the domestic server." A bewildered voice rang out. As he stepped inside, "Yo, are you Dr. Young?" The main character looked up and replied, "Yes, that's me." Shin Tae-byung said excitedly, "I'm Chun In-ho, the person you, Dr. Yu, saved from the outbreak back then. Thank you for calling me." Dr. Yu calmly spoke to him. "Yes, please have a seat first, and then we can talk." Shin Tae-byung sat down, but he couldn't stop fidgeting. "I am sorry. I was so excited that I didn't expect you to contact me like this." Dr. Yu replied, "It's nothing. I also need someone to manage my assets long-term. More importantly, let's speak comfortably. We're the same age," the protagonist said with a smile. But Shin Tae-byung looked at him awkwardly. "How can I call you Dr. Yu?" Dr. Yu replied with the same friendly smile. "Just relax." Shin Tae-byung reluctantly said, "I understand." "Okay, I understand. So, Juhyuk, I'll be straightforward." "Thank you. That makes things easier for me too," the main character replied. Shin Tae-byung noticed the stack of books next to Juhyuk. "So, besides financial planning, is there anything else?" "Looking at those books over there, they seem to be about gender relations." Juhyuk explained, "That's right. Recently, I've been interested in books about communication between men and women. So, I'd like you to manage my assets and help me acquire the necessary books or tools I need from bookstores. I'll cover all office expenses, monthly rent, and the necessary salary for the job." He pushed the contract towards Jinwoo. "This is the contract. Please take a look at it." Jinwoo seriously picked it up and reviewed it. "So I'll be acting as the manager?" "That's right," the protagonist said. "The important thing now is to gather 10 Two Worlds language books. I hope you can gather the Two Worlds books from all over the world." "What do you think?" he asked Shin Tae-byung. His hand trembled. Shin Tae-byung immediately stood up and excitedly replied, "Of course, I'd love to." "Then when can I start?" Do Hyuk said cheerfully. He pulled something out from under the table. "Thank you for accepting. Well, this is a card with a 1 billion limit. Use it for expenses. Send me the details via message." The protagonist casually took out a shiny black card. Shin Tae-byung took it in surprise. "This is a 1 billion won card?" Do Hyuk quickly stood up as well. "I'll leave it to you then." He put on another layer of coat. It seemed like he was going out, so Jinwoo asked curiously, "Are you leaving now?" Doha tilted his head and said, "I have another appointment, so I have to go. I'm counting on you." Jinwoo lightly punched his chest and replied with absolute certainty, "All right, leave it to me, boss." He watched him leave with a reassured look. It would be great to get a useful spell. Elsewhere, a fierce battle was taking place between Jinhee and Sungmin. Jinhee was on the offensive. She swung her weapon and said, "Your skills have really improved, Songmi." Songmi blocked the attack with her shield and replied, "That's incredible power." Shin Yuhi powerfully slashed at the shield. Dacha arrived to witness their training. He was a little surprised. "Yuhi, Songmi, you're both here early?" Both girls stopped sparring. Shin Yui cheerfully turned and replied, yeah, I recently returned to Korea, so I came early to enjoy the scenery. But since only Songmi was here, I wanted to test my skills. Doctor walked towards them and asked, alright, you tested your skills, so what do you think of Songmi? Shin Yui gave her honest opinion. I've never seen an awakened as dedicated to the tanker role as Songmi in Korea. He then turned to Songmi and asked, is that so? What do you think, Songmi? She replied, any longer, and there wouldn't be any protective gear left. Seeing his physical attack style firsthand, Yoo-hyun and Shin Yoo-hee seemed pleased by that statement. Thank you for the compliment, Seonmi. Yoo-hyun was satisfied with their reaction. It was fortunate that both of them were satisfied with the first impression. The reason I called you two here is, until Yoo-hee finds a new guild, I want you both to temporarily join my team. What do you think? Seonjil immediately replied, I agree. I can become the physical damage dealer necessary for team composition. Shin Yoo gave a big smile and said, just tell me what to do. With Yoo-hyun and an outstanding tanker like Songmi, wouldn't I be able to go wild without worrying about anything? What? She leaned towards the male lead and said with interest, I suppose so. Do-hyuk calmly replied, I remember back then, when Shin Yoo-hee was in her battle state. I saw it too. Just trust me and spread your wings. I'll definitely sponsor you. Shin Yoo-hee frowned, walked over, and told him, I don't want to hear those words from you. Do-hyuk chuckled and replied, I'm just telling the truth. Stop teasing me. They bickered in front of Seonmi. Her mood immediately plummeted with jealousy. She spoke up, you two seem close. Do-hyuk was surprised. He replied, I haven't properly introduced you to, have I, Seonmi? He was my classmate in middle school. Jeannie flashes a bright smile and links her arm with Ju-hyuk's. She giggles and says, and I'm Ju-hyuk's girlfriend too. Sungmin exclaims in surprise. A small horn sprouts from Jinhee's head as she enjoys teasing him. Ju-hyuk pushes Jeannie away. We did date, but that was 15 years ago. Jeannie continues to cling to his arm. You were my first love, though. Isn't that a bit of an overreaction? She continues to tease. I bet we did a lot of embarrassing things. As Sungmin looks on in bewilderment, Ju-hyuk says, don't joke like that. Stop it. Let's not talk about the past anymore. First, to connect the link, let's go to the dungeon. Both girls quickly replied, okay. Suddenly, a system window appeared before Yoo-hyun. It read, promotion quest initiated. Commencement de promotion quest. Yoo-hyun stepped inside. Before him was an ancient, desolate ruin. This was clearly, his eyes widened in recognition. The Temple of Nightmares. The one who harbored ambitions to conquer the intermediate world. Demon King Vandergand. When he was searching for a loyal human subordinate, with the thought that, the moment trust turns into betrayal, the resulting impact will be immense. He chose the high priest, officials, and priests of the temple as targets. Cursed. Not long after, Hwang Jarek's curse fell upon the most sacred spatial temple, making it dependent on demons and transforming it into a temple of corruption. Why? Are the worldviews of D and F linked to the question of leveling up? The protagonist descended the stairs. Last time I met BM-ho, and all the leveling up, incantations, and items I crafted were influenced by D and F. But I thought it was a small arrangement of the awakened system. Just for me. He looked at the ancient walls. If within the awakened system, integrating into the world of D and F, and the worldview of D and F is Peter, makes sense in this system, then maybe we need to find out more about D and F. We'll worry about that later. Right now, those monsters have appeared and spotted you. They're charging towards you, led by their alpha. Eyes glowing red, they rush at Yuchan. He raises his hand to the sky and begins chanting. Let's see if this new spell works. Above Yuchan's head, dark clouds gather. He commands the elements. A massive whirlwind sweeps the monsters into the air. They're caught in the vortex, spinning wildly. Suddenly, something shoots out from within the whirlwind. It hurtles straight towards Yuchan. For a moment, Yuchan's body turns to stone. He blocks the attack with his hand. Stone skin. Wasn't Ice Storm supposed to have a wider range? His hand glowed from the previous blow. All right then, haste. Wind enveloped his body. Park Julian lunged forward. Not quite fast enough, but perhaps enough to gain an advantage in battle. All right. He hovered in the air. The monster revealed itself below. He chanted, summoning a fireball. Fireball. A massive explosion erupted below, bathing the floor in blinding light. As the fireball subsided, smoke and dust billowed everywhere. A large hole had formed in the floor. 뚫고 여러 층 아래로 내려간다. Did it go straight through multiple levels? Juhyun descended into the hole. His feet touched the ground, and the torches lining the walls flared to life. No one shall disturb the master's slumber. A stone golem awakened abruptly. Intruders will be killed. Its eyes glowed crimson as it let out mechanical sounds. The stone gargoyle caught Yuchan's attention. The sword was surrounded by a unique magical force, making it incredibly dangerous if struck by it. The gargoyle slammed its sword into the ground, demonstrating the sword's immense power. Yuchan quickly moved away, though I'm not used to this guy's attack patterns yet. Corrosion attacks should still do significant damage. He immediately cast Acid Arrow. Half of the gargoyle's face melted away. Yuchan swiftly retreated. He intentionally lured the stone gargoyle to chase after him. This spot, he stopped at a specific location and smirked. I figured it out. Around the 50th attack patterns in sections D and F, and secretly utilized them. The gargoyle charged towards him. The starting point of the stone statue, Le Gargoyle. Its foot stomped on the ground. Its entire body suddenly froze. The mechanical voice echoed again. The watchman hasn't cleared the position. If this point has appeared, it must be the world of D and F, right? Although it's petty, there's no other way. He looked at it with interest. I'll use it to the fullest. The stone statue, Le Gargoyle, exclaimed, how frustrating. Its entire body collapsed, completely defeated. The system immediately announced, congratulations on completing the D rank promotion quest. Player Yuchan has been promoted to rank D. Player Yuchan has a chance to choose a special spell. He looked at the list provided by the system and muttered to himself, last time, there was no high roller, so I chose the healing spell. But later on, in team play, there'll probably be more to do than solo play. Before him was a wide area buff spell. This time, I'll choose Buffy, he said, and immediately selected it. The system also announced, wide area special spell Buffy has been selected. The main character stepped outside. Many people were waiting and surrounded him. Doohyuk, I'm your fan. Can I have your autograph? Doohyuk, do you have any tips for leveling up? Are you inviting anyone to your party? The main character was about to leave, but a car arrived just in time and stopped right where they were. The person inside the car stepped out. Mr. Doohyuk, hello, I'm Go Jeryong, in charge of recruitment for the U.S.'s Pleiades Guild. If you have some time to talk with me. No, Go Jeryong suggested. Kim Dacha calmly replied, such a large guild. What business do you have with me? Go Jeryong went straight to the point. It's nothing else. I've heard of your abilities, Dacha Sasai, and came to talk about the dungeon. Kim Dacha's face was firm as he said, I'm not planning on joining another guild. Go Jeryong smiled. I know. I came to find you, Dacha Sasai, not for recruitment purposes. If it's about the S-ranked dungeon, is that okay? Kim Dacha immediately replied, okay, but there are too many people around. Go Jeryong looked around. She politely opened the car door and said, shall we talk in the car? Doohyuk didn't refuse. Yes, all right. Inside the luxurious car, Go Jerry focused on explaining to him. The Phaidon Association. We will soon be raiding an S-rank dungeon in the U.S. And Master said that he wants to invite you, Doohyuk, to be a mercenary in this raid. Doohyuk immediately replied, I suppose there are plenty of awakened people in the U.S. more capable than I am. Go Jerry quickly said, it's true that there are many capable people, but not many with unique awakenings like yours. Doohyuk, still firm, replied, you're inviting a D rank awakened like me just because of that? Just because of that? Go Jerry exclaimed. What do you mean just because of that? Mr. Doohyuk, your abilities are quite diverse. Instead of bringing 3 buffers, a buffer and a magic dealer, it would be much more effective if you came along. It's a natural choice. Doohyuk remained silent. Go Jerry continued. And one more thing. Master guaranteed that if you participate, then she'll give you the right to choose a special grade possessed item. Hearing this, the main character seemed interested. A special grade possessed item? Go Jerry nodded. Yes, you can consider it a reward. And of course, after the battle, the spoils will be divided fairly. We're not lying. I swear to you, on the guild master's honor. What kind of commitment did she make? Doohyuk carefully considered. I have nothing left to lose anyway. They said it was an invitation, so there will likely be awakened people. At least A rank who will participate in the dungeon attack. This is a chance for me to experience the world. Go-Juri looked outside and announced, "We're almost there." Dakja thought it over carefully before accepting. "Miss Go-Juri, I accept the invitation. I'll contact you after I've arranged my schedule." Go-Juri was delighted, her voice filled with excitement as she replied, "Thank you. Master will be very pleased. Then I'll inform Master that you've decided to participate." The car arrived at its destination, and he stepped outside. Go-Juri spoke politely from inside the car before leaving. "I'll await your call." The driver hesitantly asked her, "Miss Go-Juri, shouldn't we mention joining the guild as well?" Go-Juri replied, "Yes, it's fine." Looking at Do-hoon, money can't persuade him now. What's important to him isn't money, but experience. I'll give him a new stage, an unforgettable one, and offer a condition he can hardly refuse. She looked at the candy smugly. At Juhyun's hallway, the two sisters were about to break into his house. Julia leaned down and asked Kang Seo-jun, "How is it?" Kang Seo-jun replied, "As expected, but the security system is even more. I thought there would be a lot of magical interference, so forced entry would be fatal." Julia wondered, "Just how many security systems does he use?" Kang Seo-jun said seriously, "This could be well over 50 billion. I can feel the energy throughout this entire house. How can I break through this?" She pondered. Julia said to her, "Honey, wouldn't it be better to just let it go?" But Kang Seo-yeon stood her ground and replied, "That's impossible. If Do-hyuk is the owner of this place, then Q must be involved, even though they have a different director now. Before them, after promising to support me in every way, they used and then dumped me." Kang Seo-yeon felt a surge of anger every time she thought about that time. The elevator on their floor suddenly dinged. A voice announcement startled them. 31st floor. Both of them looked warily towards the elevator. The elevator doors slowly opened. Julia and Kang Seo-yeon both stared intently in that direction. But when the elevator fully opened, there was no one inside. "What's this? There aren't any AIs here, are there?" Julia muttered to herself. Behind them stood a figure they hadn't noticed. Joo-hyuk smirked. Joo-hyuk had been standing behind them unnoticed. He looked at them and said, "Are you AIs? You don't look like fangirls here to see me." Both turned to look at him. The main character calmly asked, "Is there something else?" Kang Seo-jun remained aloof. She replied while Julia looked flustered. "It's not a good time to talk here." Joo-hyuk told them, "If that's what you want, I'm always available." Kang Seo-jun coldly turned away. "Let's go back." Both of them stepped into the elevator. The elevator doors slowly closed. Until it finally closed, Do-hyuk let out a sigh. "Phew, I just want some peace and quiet these days. I took care of all the domestic affairs. In 2 days, delivering goods to the guild in Seoul, explaining the party situation to Seola and Jaihai, and confirming the otherworldly texts that I salvaged in a short amount of time. After organizing the necessary items for the attack, I left for the United States. In New York City, the fighting building, a hand adorned with gold jewelry extended outwards. "Welcome to the United States." Do-hyuk took his hand. "It's a pleasure to meet you." The leader of Fighting Guild, the #1 guild in America. He carefully examined the man before him. Group cheerfully introduced himself to the protagonist. "Nice to meet you, Do-hyuk. I am Grid, the guild master of the Overgeared Guild." Yoo-hyun looked over at his bookshelf. "There are a lot of books from another world here." Grid answered honestly. "Recently, I've been studying the language of another world. I wonder when I'll be able to talk to them." He muttered mysteriously to himself. Yoo-hyun asked, "Did you say them?" Grid immediately replied, "Have a seat first." Following his words, the protagonist sat down on the sofa. Grid sat opposite him and began to speak. "Not long ago, we received some very interesting news. We found someone who is fluent in the language of another world in the dungeon. Unfortunately, that person, after encountering," Grid replied, "we're speculating that maybe the missing team is dead after being assassinated by someone." Joo-hyuk asked seriously, "Is that the dungeon we'll be raiding this time?" "What?" "Yes. Any evidence related to another world?" But since this raid is limited to 6 people, Joo-hyuk understood what he meant. "That's why we need an all-rounder like you." The group said to him with a serious face. "All awakened have a special ability with an SSS rank." "Of course, I have that ability too, but besides that, I can't use magic or other abilities." If we have someone with diverse abilities like you, Juhyuk, we can become the best team. So, I chose Juhyuk as the best person here. Juhyuk raised an eyebrow. Even though he's talking like he needs me, his real intention is to get me to care about the fandom. Of course, I have no reason to refuse the chance to share the spoils, choose a special grade item, or have my questions answered. Group stood up and walked towards his bookshelf. Since I've already explained everything, I'll keep my promise as I said. He searched for something. Group's hand ran across the books. He suddenly stopped and noticed the room next door. Group then said to the protagonist, "Come this way." Juhyuk stood up and followed him. Inside the room, items were preserved behind glass. These items are things I don't use, or that overlap with my abilities. Do-hyun observed the armor sets. Just by glancing at them, he could tell these were all above special grade items. Precious rings were placed side by side. The group cheerfully said, "You can take them, after you've identified all their abilities." Do-hyun was surprised. Did he intentionally prepare this so I could try them out? What? Do-hyun quickly touched them. Identify. Instantly, countless information windows popped up before him. Do-hyun skimmed through them and chose something he liked. "I'll take this." The group had no objections. He said so. We'll now move to summarize the situation. Down in the dungeon, our protagonist is led by Go-jia. "Why didn't the group come?" he asked. Go-jia immediately replied, "Yes, there was another invitation." So he went to France immediately. She opened the meeting room door and invited him in. "This way, sir." Do-hyuk followed her inside. Several people were already there. The main S-rank tanker, La Sien, was slumped in his chair, resting his chin on his hand, looking towards the door. The main S-rank dealer, Cha Seoyin, looked excitedly at the protagonist. The main S-rank healer, Lee Jinwoo, was dozing off, unaware of anything. The sub-A-rank ranger, Bae Yerim, also turned her gaze towards him. It was pouring rain. Do-hyuk and the others, still in the dense forest. Larson chuckled and said, "I didn't expect the rain to be so corrosive." Lincoln nodded in agreement. "Yeah, if it weren't for Juwai, things could have gotten serious." Behind them, Sarah and Rain were discussing amongst themselves. There are also various buffs. Jerry walked over to Juwai and said, "This is the first time I've seen so many buffs." Just then, Juwai heard noises nearby. He shouted, alerting everyone. "They're coming!" Everyone immediately went into defensive mode. A horde of goblins, each one large and ferocious looking, swarmed in. Yet, they showed no fear. Larson smiled and said, "We're not that easily destroyed." Sarah didn't say a word. She charged forward, slicing 2 goblins into pieces. One goblin attempted to spit poison at her, but Sarah nimbly dodged. In a flash, she effortlessly sliced that goblin down too. Do-hyuk, observing from the side, thought to himself, as expected of an S-rank defender. Meanwhile, he carved through the grotesque bodies, like he was butchering meat. "Let's see if I can find the master of these little guys." Do-hyuk used his shared vision, quickly spotting the living corpses, hiding in the trees, controlling the goblins. "Found them. I don't see any drones around." "Good." The others were also using their abilities to take down the goblins. After dealing with a few goblins, he moved on to destroy the drone. Easily, Dojin fought and observed silently by himself. He could handle the goblin. And the drone? I know why Yu-hyun isn't obsessed with teamwork. Yu-hyun opened the door, about to rush out towards the living corpses, swiftly eliminating them. Dojin was startled by the explosion from behind. Confused, Yu-hyun finished off 2 living corpses and came back, tossing their bodies aside. Dojin thought in astonishment. What was that? Why did living corpses fall down here? Impossible. It's rare for someone to use magic with spatial skills. Dewey Woojin is still so cunning. Noticing her distraction, Dewey softly reminded her as she stared. "What are you looking at me for? We need to add Jerry's firepower." He then ran off to scout the surroundings. Hearing this, Jerry wondered, can skills be continuously added like that? I want to understand Dewey better. After dealing with the Goblin Bloom, everyone continued on their way. The dungeon attack continued. Dewey's abilities shone. During the attack, removing annoying debuffs and bypassing dangerous areas with stealth. They reached the boss room faster than expected. Everyone carefully observed their surroundings. Dewey frowned and thought, "I think I've been here before. No way. If that kid's here like I suspect, this could get tricky." Suddenly, someone shouted, "AI over there!" following the pointed finger of the Black King Agar's. Rank S. The monster boss sat casually on a throne. Then, it unleashed its immense power. Sarah frowned. "The Black King Agar's. I've never seen a monster like that before." Jerry exclaimed, "Over there! That's an incredible presence." With lightning speed, it charged towards them. Damn it! As the Black King Agar's moved, dust and sand flew everywhere. While everyone was stunned, unsure of what was happening, the Black King Agar swung his sword, striking Aaron with brutal force. Aaron's body was battered and bruised, his armor riddled with cracks. Larson roared in fury. "Damn it! I said to teleport the formation to the rear." Roll tried to calm everyone down. "First, we need to regroup," she said, "and reorganize our ranks." "Teleport now?" Sarah nodded. "Understood. Follow my lead." Seeing Juhi standing still, Jerry urged her to teleport as well. Juhi frowned, thinking to himself, teleporting individually won't help us catch him. He raised his voice. "Listen up. After Agar's initial attack, during our teleportation, he'll target me, the weakest one. I'll explain the strategy later. For now, just follow my lead." Then he used the skill Door of Judgment. Akonis seized the opportunity to teleport behind Yuji Hayek, striking him down with a slash. However, Yuji Hayek swiftly dodged the attack. Sarah and Dojin rushed forward, launching a relentless assault on him.